Basket will look to continue their excellence. It's been quite a while since these Angolan fans have indeed celebrated a championship here in the AfroBasket, but the journey begins tonight. Well, Group D saw the opener, Senegal winning emphatically against Uganda, while Mali, of course, battling with Egypt, but the Egyptians, in the end, leaving with a comfortable victory, and now indeed an opener here in Group C. Well, Josh Bed calling this one alongside former Angola head coach and 2015 FIBA AfroBasket champion Will Voigt. Coach, you've coached this team, you've been in this arena, you know the vibes, the atmosphere. It is going to be an excellent showcase.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun one tonight. You can feel the electricity in this building already. There's a reason why in my 2 years as the Angolan head coach, we never lost a game in this building. The fans are as good as you'll find anywhere in the world, and this team will feed off that energy all game.
Well, the journey for these two teams was quite exciting. For Angola, it was expected to qualify for the AfroBasket, and then after finding out that they would be hosts, well, the expectations, they will be high. But let's talk about Libya, of course. You know, a return to the FIBA AfroBasket, quite exciting times for basketball in Libya. But go back to that game in the qualifiers, taking on Cape Verde. I mean, you know, a very close game to say the least, but you saw how much it meant to the players, the fans of Libya. I mean, they mean business. They're a very good team, Coach.
Well, Libya is a team and a nation on the rise in basketball. Obviously, Al Ali Tripoli having success winning the BAL this year, really putting Libya on the map in the basketball world. And, you know, I expect them to be competitive here at AfroBasket.
Well, the test doesn't get any easier. Of course, the journey to get here, as you mentioned, a country on the basketball rise. Tripoli winning the Basketball Africa League, the BAL, the BAL, of course. Well, for Angola, you know it. You were there for 2 years. You took this team to the 2019 FIBA Basketball World Cup. That pressure is very real.
Oh, absolutely. But, you know, it's a good pressure to have. I think the expectations are what has set Angola apart from the rest of the basketball playing world here in Africa. So the players embrace it, the coaching staff embraces it, and they know they come into this tournament as the favorite to win it all.
Well, the journey of Angolan excellence here in the AfroBasket began back in 1989 with some of the legendary names, Miguel Lutonda, not to mention Jean-Jacques Conceição. But as of recent, though, they haven't really, well, basketball fans, we apologize to let you know, of course, due to the excellent showcase we had in the opening ceremony, we do have a slight delay in tip-off, so we'll try to keep you updated on when we are ready to get things underway. But going back to what I was saying, Coach, of course, it started in 1989. Now the winningest country here in the FIBA AfroBasket, but that's changed ever since. And you had something to do with that back in 2015.
Well, I think certainly people expected them to continue that winning streak, and you know, I remember that championship game well. You know, we were an upstart Nigerian team, and everybody thought we didn't have a chance, able to pull off that victory. And, you know, Angola has been seeking the podium since. So I think hosting this tournament, definitely something that's inspiring the nation to get back to that championship position.
Well, of course, that 2015 saw Nigeria, you leading the way with them, winning their first ever FIBA AfroBasket. And then the tortuous pass. It then became, of course, the story of Tunisia. Tunisia winning 2 consecutive championships in 2017 and then again in 2021. But this is different now. We are here in Luanda. We know for sure, and you know especially, that the atmosphere is going to be, as you said, simply electrifying.
Yeah, you know, I think it's going to be a great tournament with lots of teams having a chance to be competitive. But Angola comes into here, I think, the clear favorite. The talent that they bring to their front court, De Sosa, Bruno Fernando, you know, these are high-level guys. I think really the only question mark will be the point guard play. So really only one true point guard in Shindao Dindao on this roster. And can he carry them throughout the tournament? Might be their only weak spot, but I expect a really competitive team from Angola this year.
You know, as we talk about this FIBA AfroBasket as a total, I mean, it's, you know, anybody's ball game at the end of the day, and I think a lot of eyes are going to be on South Sudan. Of course, they started things today in Namibia, of course, with a very good game against Guinea. But, you know, you and I, 2 years ago in Manila for the 2023 FIBA Basketball World Cup, we were there, we were courtside, and we saw that final game between Angola and South Sudan, in which the winner eventually would go to the Olympics, which was South Sudan. But that wasn't a walk in the park for South Sudan.
No, definitely not. You know, Angola's style of play now is a vast contrast from what it had been. So in the past, you know, it was really their guard play that led the way. Some of the most talented guards on the continent coming from Angola. You're seeing one of them right there in this picture, the former point guard. But you know, now it's really the bigs leading the way. So they'll roll out 3 bigs to start the game. Bruno Fernando, who's a 5 in the NBA, will likely start at the 3 for them on this national team. And so that's been their kind of new style of play, is really big and physical versus the up-tempo and stylistic play of the past.
Well, of course, the fans have come into the building tonight. We are in the capital city of Luanda, where basketball, of course, it is a way of life. As we mentioned, the most historic team here within the FIBA AfroBasket. Well, let's go back to Libya. You know, many of these players, as you mentioned, playing for Al Ahly Tripoli and also Benghazi, you know, 2 of the top teams within Libya, but also mentioning the defending champions of the BAL. But, you know, having looked at this team, there are some players obviously not here due to injury that were there in the qualifiers, some very key instrumental players. This is going to be a tough test for this team, but also an exciting one because, as mentioned, it's a return to the FIBA AfroBasket.
Well, you mentioned it. I think the loss of Mohamed Sadi to injury, really tough blow for them coming into this tournament. One of their leading scorers throughout the qualification games, the captain of that team. You know, how are they going to fill that void? It's going to be a tough challenge for them.
Well, these 2 teams, they've only ever met once in the FIBA AfroBasket. That was back in 2009. For some of your former players did play in that game. The likes of Carlos Moraes, he was monumental. They ended up winning the FIBA AfroBasket that summer. So it's a very long time. It's 16 years. So none of these players would have played in that matchup. But for sure, they would have been watching it as youngsters.
Well, you know, that's part of what makes Angola so special, is the history of the game here in the country. And you can see from the fans, but it's a basketball-playing nation. Everybody grows up understanding the heroes of the past and who has had the success to lift the trophy during AfroBasket. So this year's team, a lot of young players trying to etch their name in the echelons of basketball history here in Angola.
Well, if we compare the Angolan team now to where we were 2 years ago in Manila, the only addition they made, of course, is Miguel. He played at the FIBA OQT last summer in Valencia. And one of the games I was very impressed with this Angolan national team is how they were able to compete against Spain, who did eventually go on to qualify for the Paris Olympics.
Well, Selton brings some much-needed scoring on the perimeter. So, you know, a high-level player. It's been great to see his growth. He's somebody that, you know, I started watching play as a youngster when I was the head coach here, and to see the success he had at University of Maryland, now going on, will play for the Utah Jazz G League team coming up, and I think he's an important part of what they want to do here in this tournament.
Now, when you do look at this Angola team, I mean, there's going to be one name that everybody's going to talk about, and that is going to be Bruno Fernando. Of course, had his time in the NBA, then went to play last season in the Spanish ACB with Real Madrid. But I just look at this team, and I think continuity is key. Sylvain de Souza, Gilson Bango, not to mention the likes of Shilde Dundal. They've been together a very long time. I mean, they're brothers almost.
No, absolutely. You know, it's definitely something that they've been building over these last couple of years. I think the biggest adjustment probably is going to be coming from Bruno. You know, can he slide out to the perimeter, make enough threes that they have to honor him from that spot?
And in your mind, how key are the role players going to be tonight? So one of the key players I want to mention, I've seen a lot of him, of course, when he has played for Benfica, is players like Eduardo Francisco, who, you know, maybe not necessarily a foundation player that you want to give the ball to and say, look, go get a bucket. But the energy that he brings as that utility and intangible player.
Well, you know, I think we'll see. Coach Claros is going to come with a lot of different players off the bench. That's something that he's done throughout his tenure here. Not afraid to try different combinations. So all these players will have their opportunity to contribute in this tournament.
Well, the fans have rocked into the building. As we saw, it was simply an immaculate opening ceremony. It really brought a tradition of Angolan culture and bringing it together. And that is what international basketball is all about. I mean, it was a showcase, which I think both you and I enjoyed very much.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, music and dance is such a huge part of their culture here, and not surprisingly was a big part of the opening ceremony. So great to see it.
That makes you wonder the big question. If Angola are to be champions, imagine what the closing ceremony is going to look like.
It should be fun.
Well, that is a big what if. There's some very good teams in this FIBA AfroBasket. We saw Senegal earlier today, Egypt with a big victory. While in Namibia, South Sudan, another team, a very young country, of course, who made it to the Olympics. And they are as well making history. Well, Coach, you know all about this atmosphere. And I mean, you lived it 2 solid years. You never lost in this building. For the fans watching live here, wherever they may be watching all over the world, what can you say about this atmosphere?
Well, you know, if you watch the opening ceremony, that's just a taste of what's to come. So, you know, from the tip, the drums, the horns, the crowd, they'll be into it. The anthem actually is one of the things that I remember most. My very first game here, we'll see it coming up in a little bit, but the crowd, when they sing along to the anthem, is a moment I'll carry with me forever.
Well, both sets of coaches now having some final words. Again, we do apologize for the delay in tip-off, Basel fans, and we do thank your patience, but we're just trying to get ready to introduce the teams, the referees, the starting lineups, and as Coach said, we're going to stand for the national anthems of 2 very beautiful countries now building their brand on the continental stage of the 2025 FIBA AfroBasket. You know what I like also, you know, we could talk about the continuity of these Angolan players. I'll say it, they're brothers. They're like family. They've grown up together, but having Pep Claros, now I believe, what is it, his 4th season, his 3rd season now in coaching reigns, I believe it is, but having that structure, I mean, it's only going to make them much, much better coming into this tournament.
Yeah, you know, definitely continuity, I think, really helps. You touched on it earlier. Not only the familiarity between the players, but familiarity with the coach, knowing his system, how he wants to play. And, you know, we've got to mention Toy. So the frozen mop guy, one of the best entertainers in the world. So everybody's in for a treat. I think the guy never ages. You know, what he's doing now is the same as what he did back when I was the coach here.
Well, that's interesting you say that, because when I started as a broadcaster, we're talking 2016-17, I knew about him through the 2019 FIBA Basket World Cup. And I'm telling you, you're right, he hasn't aged. And seeing him earlier and getting ready for his traditions and what he brings to this beautiful, immaculate international game, you know he's a superstar. You know he is going to bring the eyes of the world on him. I mean, he's phenomenal.
Well, you know, one of my personal highlights of coaching here was to see Toy reach enough prominence that he was invited to the NBA All-Star Weekend. So, wow. You know, he went from local legend to global entertainer, and it's going to be fun watching him do his thing again here during this tournament.
This is what I love about the debate about Angolan basketball. You know, we've talked about this the last 2 days, the greats. Who is the greatest starting 5? Who is the best at every position? And for this man right now, I would say getting this team to a championship is going to get him into the debate, because when you speak to the locals and they know their basketball, it's all about Conceição. Everybody is crazy about Jean-Jacques Conceição. But Bruno, for now, he's got to lead this team to something if he's going to get into that debate.
Well, no question. And, you know, even, you know, Jean-Jacques' son, Silvio de Sousa, trying to carve out his own legacy with the Angola national team. So there's a lot of young players here hungry to prove that they're the next generation coming up here for Angola.
And that's very tough, because, you know, some of your former players, Coach, they're in that debate. Carlos Moraes, many say that he is the greatest of all time. Many would even go with Eduardo Mengues. I mean, the debate is nonstop. At the end of the day, it's an opinion. Are you going to accept it, or are you going to debate it?
Well, you know, I was fortunate to coach a lot of those guys, and you know, what each one of them did individually, extremely impressive, but it's the collective winning, I think, that set them apart. And that's really what this group has to do in order to be mentioned in the same categories of those other players.
The reason why I think this game is so interesting tonight is because, you know, it's great to see Libya back on the stage, of course. You know, they had a very exciting last game against Cape Verde in which they qualified for the AfroBasket. But, you know, missing some key players due to injury, that's unfortunate, but these things obviously do happen in international basketball. But with this coaching staff, Coach Vincent, Dean Murray as well, you got to think something has got to be special about Libya coming into this game.
Well, you know, I mean, they might feel that they're a team of destiny. So I think the momentum that they have, having won the BAL, gives them the confidence to know they can compete on this stage.
Well, Coach James Vincent, knowing tonight is going to be a tough test in front of this home crowd. As mentioned, all of these players do play in Libya, some for the BAL champions, some of course of Benghazi. But would you say coming into this game, it's got to be a no fear factor? They've got to play with a collective confidence that, is tougher to us and, performed at the end of the day.
No, absolutely. And, it's going to be a little bit of a stylistic change. So for Angola, the size that they're going to roll out with their front court, they're going to try to get this to be an up and down game, really force pressure, force tempo. And for Libya, can they execute their offense, maintain control of the tempo of the game, keep it in the half court as much as possible?
Well, one of the key players you may recognize in the qualifiers, Abdelkader Rezek, standing at 210 centimeters, currently playing for Al Ahly Benghazi. So no doubt he is going to have his hands full, whether he's defending Bruno Fernando or Silvio de Souza. Or, of course, the man who is going to lead them through this AfroBasket, Coach Vincent. Well, the atmosphere has just turned up a decimal, Coach, and I think we're going to hear this all game long.
Yeah, get used to this. So this crowd is ready. We haven't even tipped the ball, and you can feel the electricity in the building.
Of course, one of the interesting players of this team, in my mind, is Luke Kenny, because I've always tried to understand where is his best position. Is he a playmaker? Is he a shooter? Or is he a scorer? What is your take on Luke Kenny, Coach?
Well, he was a really young player when I took over the national team. Both him and Gerson Domingos were two young guys that I had identified, trying to give them experience to come up. And, in my mind, at that stage in his career, I thought he could be a point guard. Since that time, obviously you can see he's really filled out physically. And I think the emergence of Shilda Dundao also kind of pushed him more into that shooting guard role.
Well, now it's the best time of the game. We're going to stand and pay respect and homage to the national anthems of Libya and Angola. Anthems of two beautiful countries, Libya and Angola, have been sung. And this is the 2025 FIBA AfroBasket The host nation, Angola, looking to add to their excellence, their legacy. And my word, what a breathtaking atmosphere it is. Coach Pep Claros again with this national team. And now players will shake hands, pay each other homage, as now we get set to introduce three very important people for tonight's game, and those are our three referees. Well, of course, we are very proud to say we have three of the very finest here in world basketball. They've done an excellent job in all of our competitions, and they'll continue to do so here tonight in Luanda. Well, there are three referees for this evening. Our referees are coming from South Africa, Australia, and Cote d'Ivoire. Asane Kamate, Ruben Walcock, and Arnold Lonzawe Mosea. Well, very shortly, we are going to look at the starting lineups for these two teams, and I imagine we'll begin with the visitors, Libya. Because it's going to have to be a very different look team, coach, from the qualifiers. And as mentioned, key players missing to injury, but now's not the time. Players have to step up for the big stage.
Yeah, no question. You know, how are they going to fill that huge void from Mohamed Sadi's injury? You know, opportunity for all of them to step up. But really, you know, their MO has been their execution as a team. I think they're going to have to approach this game the same way.
Well, there we have it. Badrouche will be in the backcourt along with Andreas Seyu, Sofiane Ahmed, along with Raji Dawo, who will be a big impact tonight on Mohamed Bouzgaya. We do have the options of Reza coming off the bench, and not to mention Arima, but I think today, this team, as you mentioned, not only show no fear, but they've got to play with high energy, coach.
Yeah, you know, I think the biggest thing, not being disrupted from the ball pressure they're going to see. You know, Angola is hyped up from this crowd. They're going to want to jump in, pressure early on, try to force some turnovers. Can Libya stay calm during those moments, continue to execute their offense?
No doubt Coach Vincent will have his players prepared for this game, but the test will be tough. Well, the Angolans, not a case of reliving history, it's about restoring national pride. The expectations, I said, they're very real. They're very high on these players, and the home crowd has come into the building to see them. Makes you wonder what kind of lineup they'll go with, because no doubt you can have Bruno Fernando, but the question is, do you bring Silvio de Souza off the bench and go with Gilson Banga? But we are going to find out here. Well, Big Bruno will be there, so it will be Gilson Banga that does partner with. Now Valente will start with Machi and Shirley Dundao. Now you talked about his rise, his emergence from the game, because you know, he went from, I would say, a player that just needed to build his confidence in Manila to where he is now.
Well, you know, really interesting lineup, I feel, to start this tournament. So, you know, had been playing with the three bigs together. That's something we saw all the way back to the World Cup. Celtic Miguel, somebody you thought maybe would have a big role coming off the bench. So, Coach Claros really mixing it up to start it out here.
Well, I think what I was so impressed with Celtic was in that game against Spain, because you know, we're talking about one of the best teams in the FIBA World Rankings, but in that game of Valencia last year, Celtic had no problem dealing with that full court in-your-face man-to-man defense. But you know, is it a tactical approach, maybe bringing him off the bench in this game?
Well, you know, it's something we've seen from Coach Claros. I mean, he really looks at individual matchups. He'll shuffle the lineup from game to game. So obviously there's something he's seen from this Libya team that's led him to start this way.
I'd just like to go back to that last game back in 2009, and not a player you necessarily, Coach, but I'm sure you probably met him and heard of him, Kikash Gomez. He was a part of that team, and you know, if you go back to the 2006 World Cup in Saitama, Japan, the Beijing Olympics, he was one of the key names, the key faces of that Angola national team.
Yeah, you know, it's funny, Kikash just retired when I took over, but you know, we talked earlier about the legends of Angola basketball. He's certainly one of those players.
This wonderful, magnificent home crowd, they're ready. Again, we do apologize for the delay in tip-off, and we thank you, everybody, for your patience watching live all over the world. Remember, this is the opening game of Group C, game day 1 of the 2025 FIBA AfroBasket. Well, the players now have been asked to go to the benches, so we are moments away from tip-off. Team that's returned, as now we would like to a big shout out to Tissot countdown to tip-off that is underway, so we are moments. A big shout out to Tissot. Magnificent partnership with FIBA and international basketball for a very, very long time.
might be able to run him, but he's a big post-up.
Bomba doble, Pinais, sempre pau. Bomba doble, Pinais, sempre pau. Importante, box out, controlar y atacar el resalto ofensivo. Lembrar en la pesada de los llevamos a un lado y a la vamos a poder salto iniciado. Silve lembra, bloqueas a Gilson, más você, tienes que ver si hay un pase, porque la bola Gilson va para Bruno. Bola uma, si no, vas en bola. Bola para Gilson, alley-oop. ¿Sí? Vamos la primera,
Vamos! Angola!
You know, Coach, I had a very interesting conversation with Bruno Fernando, asking that question about transition from going to the NBA to the Spanish Liga Endesa, the ACB. And he said, look, at first it was tough, but I got into my rhythm and I absolutely enjoyed it. And now I think that season in the ACB possibly could be a catalyst to just making him a little bit better. Not that he wasn't great, I mean, a little bit better for the international game.
Yeah, no question at all. I think the experience at any level is a good one. He's a player that I've known for a while now, and I know his heart is to get back to the NBA, but certainly playing with the best in EuroLeague is a great way to expand his game.
The players of Angola and Libya now entering the floor. A lot of anticipation coming into this game. Because, as mentioned, the fans expect big things. Ruby Gilson Bango. Now, I look at this lineup. Now, do you put Bruno at the 4 and Gilson at the 5, or is it interchangeable?
I think you're going to see Bruno playing the 4. Gilson's really an interior player. Bruno is capable of stepping out and making some shots.
Rouge getting first possession for Libya. Angola's trying to be very physical here on defense. Let's say preventing any post entry. Little side drop. Almost coming up with the rebound, but Bango secures it. Well, the first bucket for Angola is going to simply erupt this arena. One thing they don't want to do is give them down time and space here from the perimeter. Bango. Now we're under 10 on the shot clock. Vidal just turning it over. Comes up with it. Bango time. Oh my goodness! Welcome to the 2025 FIBA AfroBasket. And coach, we started with a bang.
Well, a little bit of a lucky break there. Dow had lost control of the ball, gathered it at the very end to find Bango for the finish.
This is interesting now because, given the circumstances, I believe there's only going to be a second left on the shot clock to get the ball over the halfway line. So Libya might need to go long.
Yeah, and you can see Coach Claros trying to make his players aware. I think, they've got the one-on-one matchup on the other side, so for sure he's going to look to throw this long. This guy hopefully can come, I can't see who's the long man right now, but I would not expect this to go into the backcourt.
Badgers will inbound this one. As mentioned, there's going to be 1 second to avoid the 8-second violation. Well, they get it over. Great execution by the Libyans. As the penetration, nothing comes. Fernando comes up with it. Now Angola wants to run. Good go with the speed. Post it goes. Misses. But the tip is good by Valente. Well, these fans, coach, they love it. They love it simply.
They appreciate the energy that Dundao brings.
Angola leading by 2 possessions. Fernando wants a seal off. Bango finds him. But an offensive foul is going to be called against Bruno.
Well, it's interesting, with this 3 big lineup, one of these post players is going to have a matchup that they'll try to exploit. How does Libya handle that? Are they looking to pack the paint with the lack of shooting on the perimeter?
Let's see, that was good defense by Dawo. Prevented that post entry, but a foul is going to be called against Valente. Libya just trying to get into a tempo here, trying to calm down with some stability. Madrush coming off the screen, another turnover. Libya comes up with it, here we go. Kitty rejected! The follow-up is good. They'll try to orchestrate the offense. Now Fernando again, a seal-off. Valente goes in, bit of basketball. Gets some rebound, bit of contact. Now we're preventing offensive boards. Now Libya want to run. Now deflection taken, but that's going to go back to Angola.
And you can see he's not asking for the lob until the bounce pass is so hard to gather on a long bounce pass when you're running at full speed. Rather see him throw that up towards the rim there.
Think about this Angola team. Their transition defense, I mean, it's supersonic mode. They'll make every effort. We saw that in Manila 2 years ago.
I mean, that is their style. So you've seen it on display so far in this game. You know, they want to pressure. They're going to pick up full court. Dundao is always going to look to push, and if they miss, they're sending 3 big bodies to the rim every shot.
Let's look at the play, the original block by Fernando, but the good follow-up. And I mean, that's a good positive sign from Libya. Any second chance points, any scramble, you got to make it count at this point.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think they've handled the crowd and the pressure pretty well so far to start this game.
Dalfani Valente now getting a handoff. Libya's defense just trying to clog the paints. The time is winding down here for Angola. Nice little hesitation. Little shit block. Down. Pressing. Mango. Too big. But no. 24 second violation.
Great defensive possession there. You can see Libya really trying to pack it in. They're doing as best they can to stay in front of these guards. Will go underneath screens, make them beat them from the perimeter. It's a nice job there.
Now, if you're currently on the floor and you're an Angolan player, you want to identify this quickly and try to, at least free up something or get good looks on the perimeter, to prevent this clock.
Well, we saw this at the World Cup. The style of play hasn't changed since then. The shooting that potentially they can put out on the floor, Coach Claros has leaned more towards size, defense, and rebounding. So offensively in the half court especially, it's going to be difficult for them.
And many fans watching this game live, Coach and me keep talking about 2 years ago because we covered those games, but what was amazing about Angola in that tournament, had they won that game against China, who knows, maybe they could have been in better position, but Fernando was injured for the South Sudan game, but what's interesting, how China defeated Angola, a simple 2-3 zone. Yeah,
and that really highlighted the lack of shooting that we're talking about. So, the downsides of these ultra big lineups is that. It'd be interesting to see if Libya at some point in this game also goes to a zone.
And Coach, the irony of that victory for China, they played the same defense against the Philippines, and Jordan Clarkson said, well, I've got something else in mind.
Yeah, it's always nice to have a zone buster like that, and that's something really that this Angolan team lacks. I think the perimeter shooting, the one area of weakness for them.
Well, fans, we do apologize. We are just facing a technical issue with the shot clock, and we are going to try to get this resolved, but so far the energy has been magnificent tonight. These fans, every Angolan bucket, every stop, you just get that reaction, and you can feel it where we are courtside.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and it's really hard for the players. We've had now several technical difficulties delaying the game, and in a game where there is so much energy, really hard to sustain that during these long breaks.
Now, going back to zone defense, do you anticipate that's something we're going to see from Libya in this game, knowing how Angola have played against zones in the past?
I think for sure. I think at any point in this game, if Angola is starting to find a rhythm offensively, Coach Vincent will look to try to change things up with the zone.
And if we are to see that, of course, we anticipate a player like Luke Kenny. That's going to be somewhere where he's got to come in and play big. But who else in this Angolan team do you expect to be a threat against a potential zone?
Well, Gakao is another player who can come in and make some threes. It'd be interesting to see with Fernando, technically their 3-man. Gakao can see time also as a small forward. But really across this roster, not a lot of knockdown shooters.
Well, this is the 31st edition of the FIBA AfroBasket. competition that goes back to 1962, but the excellence of Angolan basketball didn't quite emerge until 1989. As mentioned, they are the winningest team in the history of this competition. And I love this, and I'll say this again. The beauty of international basketball, we've already seen it with the Senegalese fans. We saw it with the Malian fans as well, but now we're seeing it with the home fans. And I expect we're going to see this every game. Who knows? Maybe if they go right to the finals.
Well, it's only going to get bigger. I think when we get into the knockout rounds, also a weekend game. I learned this from experience. As magical as this environment is right now, a weekend game where everybody is available to get out to Calamba, to this arena, is a whole nother level.
And I did ask you this in the last game in which we saw Egypt win against Mali, but I'll ask you again, of course. In your time coaching Angola, what was probably the most memorable moment for you as a coach?
Well, we saw it at the beginning of this broadcast. So the national anthem being played and the passion in which these fans sing along. So I didn't know until my first game that's what the norm was. But hearing them chime in during the anthem, something that I'll carry with me as a coach forever.
When you think about some of the great battles you had, of course, you talk about the Nigerian national team, the other greats, Cameroon, Senegal, Cote d'Ivoire. Of course, South Sudan, as we mentioned, respectfully, a very young nation, really got onto the international stage in the previous AfroBasket qualifiers. But who was some of the toughest games you had to go up against?
Well, the real battle was Tunisia. So, obviously Tunisia continued to have success after I left. But their head coach at that time was Mario Palma, who, of course, won several championships here for Primera de Agosto, one of the top club teams, kind of a legend. So, for me as a young coach, having to go up against an Angolan coaching legend was a tremendous opportunity. And, of course, I'll remember beating them here in this building and what that environment was like and how important that game was to both teams.
And you mentioned one of the giants of Angolan basketball. You talk about the other team, of course, Petro de Luanda. Those two teams, we've seen them in the battle. They've been very successful, of course. And it's a great pathway. And I think one thing Angola's done a magnificent job of over the generations is getting more young players involved in the game and getting them to such an elite level.
Well, that was one of the things when I was hired that, I tried to push within the federation. So we were on the tail end of kind of that golden generation. Carlos Moraes, Leandro Paulo, Edward Mingus, they were all at the tail end of their careers. So I knew it was going to be important to identify young players, pull them in our fold, and hopefully develop them. So it's great to now see Bruno Fernando, Silvio de Sousa, Shilda Dundal, like a lot of these young guys that I was talking to when they were teenagers about being a part of the national team, now being major contributors.
Yeah, you talk about one name there, Leandro Paulo. When you were coaching Angola and we were in China back in 2019 for the FIBA Basketball Cup, he was there. He was coming in playing good minutes. 4 years later, he was there again. And I'm thinking in my head at some point, he's going to be playing for many years. Angola's going to need to find new players to play around him. But, he is one of the great names of Angolan basketball. No doubt he'll be watching this game. So will many of the other greats as well. I've been hearing that Carlos Moraes is in town as well.
Yeah, I was really fortunate to coach these guys. Leandro Paulo, Edward Mingus, these are guys who seemingly never aged. So their fitness was always amazing to me. And, they set such a great tone for our young players with their professionalism. Almost always after a game even, you can see them in the weight room. There's a reason why they could play as long as they did. And I think they set a great example for this next generation of players.
Well, fans, we do apologize. We are just facing some technical issues. I believe it is with the shot clock. So, again, a big thank you for all your patience. This is the 2025 FIBA AfroBasket. And, Coach, I guess, the big talking point many people are asking, it's one of the most balanced continental competitions in the world of FIBA international hoops. And, we talk about Angola having the home court advantage here in Luanda, but this is anybody's tournament at the end of the day. There's too many good teams.
Well, I think it's going to be an outstanding tournament. Obviously we saw Senegal earlier today, and their dominance got to be considered one of the favorites for this tournament. But really, there's a long list. Cote d'Ivoire had an outstanding qualification segment. I think they're coming into this tournament expecting big things. Cameroon, also a team looking for the podium. Nigeria, of course, always looking for the podium. So I think there's several teams here coming in with the confidence that they could win it all.
Well, going to Nigeria, I mean, it's amazing to think. We think of Nigeria, and rightfully so, a team that gets to the Olympics. They, you know, they do get to FIBA Basketball Cups, but only one FIBA AfroBasket championship, and that was when you were coach.
Yeah, you know, really fortunate to be a part of that team. Just an outstanding group of guys. Faced a lot of hardship on our way there. So, you know, many people will forget. Obviously, Ike Diagu, tremendous player for Nigeria, our captain, our leading scorer. And right before we were coming into AfroBasket, tore his calf and was out for the tournament. So we faced adversity from the beginning of that tournament. Tunisia as the host, a lot of people thinking they would win it as the host. And of course, Angola was on this run with this golden era. So I don't think anybody thought we could go in there and come away with a championship, but really a special moment for me as a coach.
Well, fans, again, we do apologize. The game just being temporarily suspended due to a technical issue that we are trying to resolve at the moment. A big thank you to all your patients watching live, wherever you may be in the world. Live here in Luanda, Angola for the 2025 FIBA AfroBasket. Fans, if you're loving this competition, if you're a fan of the AfroBasket and all international hoops, make sure you follow the AfroBasket on all social media platforms, X, Instagram, as well as Facebook, so you can catch up with all the best news, highlights, and content that matters to you most. Now, this just minor temporary delay in game, do you think that this will go for or against either of these two teams?
Well, you know, it's probably to Libya's favor. You know, although I don't know if anything can really get this crowd to quiet down, but certainly these long delays diffuse some of the energy that we had right at the start of this. So, not that either team wants to be sitting here and waiting for this to start back up, but I'm sure Angola especially very anxious to get this crowd back to the hype level that it was at the tip of this game.
There's another very interesting debate is whenever you look at any national team, and let's take FIBA AfroBasket for example, when you've got a core of players that are playing all across the world, whether they, you know, domestic players within their own respective leagues, whether they're playing in Europe, the NBA, import players in some of the top leagues in East Asia, West Asia, you name it. I always, in my mind, I think that's a great balance. You get players that bring in all kind of flavors to their national team. When you look at this Libyan national team, all of them are domestic players, but, you know, as you mentioned, Tripoli are the defending champions of the BAL. So the excellence speaks for itself, and I just wonder, how do you think that is going to mesh here at the FIBA AfroBasket?
Well, you know, I think often it helps the continuity that these guys get. We saw it with Egypt earlier when, you know, they were able to sustain the run from Mali. Is definitely beneficial, and you know, it's interesting that had always been sort of Angola's advantage. So as one of the stronger domestic leagues on the continent, most of their players stayed home. So it's really a newer thing to see the Angola national team with more and more now foreign players playing abroad in Europe.
Of course, we saw Senegal earlier today, and it's been a very long time, Coach, since they won the FIBA AfroBasket. 1997, 28 years. But since then, they've been, you know, regular competitors at the highest level. Of course, Coach Diop is a former teammate of LeBron James, played his years in the NBA, now coaching, of course, at a very high level. But you've got to start to wonder the way they play. They would probably be heavy favorites to get at least to the podium.
Well, I think when you look at that roster and how they kind of steamrolled through qualifications coming into this tournament, they're a team everybody had an eye on. You know, there were times where I felt Uganda was able to keep that close. I think the zone that Uganda went to may be something that other teams are taking note of, and that could be something to hurt Senegal in this tournament. But you saw so much of the dominance on display. I mean, 30 offensive rebounds, incredible performance on the glass, and then, of course, the dynamic backcourt. So I think they're as good as any team in this tournament.
Of course, the one team that's going to be drawing a lot of attention, not only from their own fans, but fans across the world, South Sudan. There's going to be a lot of expectation on them, of course.
Well, you know, it was interesting. I was flying to here on their plane, so had a chance to catch up with a lot of their coaching staff. And very different team here at AfroBasket. So a lot of the contributors for the Olympics, not here for this tournament. And you can see in their first game, Denny able to catch them up in Namib. Possibly a wake-up call for them, but I think certainly nobody expected that upset in their first game. So is that a precursor of things to come for South Sudan?
That's a very good point you made, Coach, because if you go about a decade ago how these continental competitions as well as the World Cup would work, national teams wouldn't necessarily see each other so much. But since 2017, and I've loved it, we're seeing national teams come together through windows, whether that be World Cup qualifiers, continental qualifiers. You must think as a coach that has a positive impact on not only continuity, but also seeing more opponents, more time together.
Well, I think probably the greatest thing from the qualification schedule is the ability to now play in the home arenas of all these countries. So previously, one host nation, obviously it's a huge advantage to be that nation, all the teams coming together in that moment, versus now where fans of all these countries able to see their national team on display as a build-up to the AfroBasket tournament.
Many players missing to injury, not only for Libya, but Egypt missing some players to injury as well. And I think another key factor you could say from the qualifiers is, look, it gives the coaching staff, the federations, a chance to say, look, what depth do we have? What can we build on? If we do get into this sort of situation where we are missing a key player to injury, this is going to be our backup. And that's something I absolutely love about windows. They just they showcase so much international talent.
Well, that's the thing that I loved coaching at the national team level. Every game matters. So you're never going to be in any game that has no meaning. And with that, you learn a lot about your team. So as you mentioned, you might go into one qualification round with a certain roster, the next round's a different roster, but there might have been a young player that you relied on during one of those windows, and you built enough confidence in him that when it comes to the big stage, you're not afraid to throw him in those moments. So as you build towards the AfroBasket tournament, all those games, all those possessions really do matter.
And that phrase you said, Coach, that sums up international basketball. Every game matters, and I think a key case of this, of course, would be in the game which Egypt did win against Mali. The game was dead and buried. They won, but they still went to score the final bucket. Points difference matters at the end of the day, because in a potential tiebreaker, which could see them, I don't know, maybe against Senegal, let's say in Group D, every possession, every moment, every bucket, it counts.
Yeah, and I wasn't surprised to see the experienced group of Egypt realizing that while Mali sort of let their guard down at the end. You're absolutely right. Tiebreaker scenarios come down to point differential, and often in group play there's going to be a tiebreaker. So you have to play every possession. They all matter, and even in those moments where seemingly the game is lost, being able to keep your team focused enough to win maybe that one possession can pay dividends down the road.
Well, again, fans, we do apologize. Game just slightly and temporarily suspended due to a technical fault that we are having with the shot clock. Again, we'd like to thank you all for your patience watching live here, wherever you may be watching across the world. The opening game of Group C of the 2025 FIBA AfroBasket. Angola currently with a 4-2 lead in the opening, just under 3 minutes. Well, Coach, we've only seen just a few minutes of play, and of course we have watched some of these players in the qualifiers for Libya, but what do you think are going to be some areas in which Libya could maybe take advantage in this game?
Well, I think obviously we've got a small sample size on this game, but it's the battle of styles. So can Libya handle the pressure of Angola, handle the energy of this crowd, be able to execute their offense versus Angola's chaotic up-tempo style?
And this man right here, like I said, I was speaking volumes about him after seeing him play for Angola last summer at the FIBA Olympic qualifying tournament in Valencia, but I was quite surprised. I think you were as well, but let's talk about this. Coach Claros, it's a very interesting lineup he's gone with in this game.
Well, it really is. Certainly Valente, who has not played any meaningful minutes on the national team, getting the start. A little bit surprising to me, but we've seen this from Coach Claros. He really leans into certain matchups, sometimes maybe to send a message to his group. So I'm sure there's reasoning behind that starting group.
The only similarity I can kind of point that to is Jean-Jacques Boissy of Senegal. You know, this season in the BAO, he was coming off the bench, and in most teams, and even as we saw today, one of their joint leading scorers for Senegal, he's your go-to primetime player. And I mean, for me, it takes a lot for a star player to say, "Yep, coach, I'm ready to come off the bench for you."
Well, and you know, I mean, I don't want to read into what Pep maybe was thinking, but sometimes with a player and he's making his debut on this kind of stage, to get it out of the way immediately can help calm their nerves. So sitting on the bench, not knowing if you're going to be thrown in, can be tough for a young, inexperienced player. So perhaps that was part of the thinking with the starting lineup.
Well, Bruno Fernando, a big moment for him in his career, definitely for his international career. We know about his excellence, his time in the NBA, and as you mentioned, it's going to be a goal of his to try and get back. But one thing I've really admired about him whenever he's played for the national team is it seems like he is more about the continuity, the synergy, the collective nature of this team. I think really he wants to see this team win more than anyone else. Yeah,
no question, and we can see right here El Profesor, the original coach of Angola basketball. So great to see all these legends in the building right now. But certainly there's such a rich history of basketball here in Angola.
And you're absolutely right. I mean, this country, with its basketball excellence, of course, it was back in 1992 when it was known all over the world, maybe through a bit of a sarcastic response in a press conference to one former Dream Team player, but you're absolutely right. I mean, this country is full of stories when it comes to basketball. And those stories began back in 1989, and, you know, there hasn't been a more dominant country here in the FIBA AfroBasket.
Yeah, I mean, it's great to see these players in the gym, and you know, when we look past these warm-up baskets, we see highlights of these former national teams. Jean-Jacques being shown on the big screen here. But all these players have had huge moments wearing that Angola jersey. So these fans know the history of the game here and really, truly honor the legends of these national teams.
Well, fans, we are live here in Luanda, the capital city of this beautiful country. Again, we're trying to keep you updated with what's going on with the technical issues at the moment here with our shot clocks. But we do thank you for your patience, and we do apologize. But again, it already started high energy. This crowd, coach, they just got right into it right from the get-go.
Yeah, you know, the challenge will be, can Angola come out from this long delay and energize that crowd again? So you could feel how electric this building was, ready to applaud any play. Can they find that spark again? And that's hard. You know, that's hard for both teams, but certainly Angola, where they really want to play up tempo and off that energy. It's going to be hard after this long delay.
And you probably experienced moments like these in your international career. And, what's it like for you as a coach going through this?
Well, you know, we had a saying with that Nigerian team that won AfroBasket. We talked about eyes on the prize. And I think especially in the African tournaments, but anywhere, you're going to face a lot of adversity, and your ability to handle those moments and continue to push through are really vital. So for Angola, that's this moment right now. Can they come back out, get this crowd back into the game, continue to build off the early start?
Well, Angola's history, it goes far back, no doubt. The winningest team in the history of the FIBA AfroBasket. And it's fair to say they are the kings of this competition, but it has indeed been a while since they've lifted the FIBA AfroBasket Championship. Now being the host nation of the 2025 FIBA AfroBasket, the 31st edition. Well, maybe destiny will be in their hands, but they're going to have to start now, and we're still just trying to resolve the technical issues that we are facing here courtside. But interesting time of year here in Angola. Not exactly the warmest of times in terms of the climate.
Well, you know, you have to remember it's winter time here in Angola right now. So, you know, certainly not the balmy summers, but, you know, one of the beautiful things about Angola is really the temperature doesn't fluctuate all that much.
You know, Coach, we've talked about your career. You know, you had a magnificent time coaching Nigeria, also coaching Angola. And last time we were together commentating the 2023 FIBA AfroBasket World Cup, you were going to the G League with the Spurs. But, you know, for the fans watching live, where have you been coaching as of recently?
Well, you know, I'm fortunate now to be at Brigham Young University. So I'm with Coach Kevin Young. He's done an outstanding job building that program up. You know, right now we've got the #1 player in the country in AJ Devanza, the MVP of the Under-19 World Championships. So a lot of exciting things happening at BYU right now.
Must be very different, of course, when you go from national team, pro basketball level, to all of a sudden you're working with the elites of the NCAA. How is the recruitment very different in your mind?
Well, you know, it's an interesting time in college basketball in the United States right now. So the introduction of NIL has now paved the way for these players to earn money while playing collegiately, and that's really changed the landscape of how you recruit. So a lot of my experience as a pro coach actually now lends nicely to what the college landscape is.
Well, that's the great thing about coming back in the summertime, getting you back in the international scene, and, you know, your experience. I mean, at one point you were with the national team, then you were in the Basketball Champions League with Telecom Basket's Bond, and then Zamalek in the BAL, you know, defending a BAL championship, and then the FIBA ICC, and you know, that's one hell of a resume you have, Coach.
Well, I appreciate that, Josh. I've been really fortunate. The game of basketball has taken me all over the world, and I've been lucky enough to have some successful teams and be able to play on some of the world's biggest stages.
And speaking about the FIBA Intercontinental Cup, you know, that was back in Alexandria in Egypt, of course, back in 2022. We're going to Singapore in September. We're going to see some of these Libyan players, no doubt, featuring for the team, the champions of the BAL. That is very exciting. You take the champions of the Basketball Champions League, BCL Americas, BCL Asia, G League, as well as the Australian NBL. International basketball, Coach. I don't remember it being as exciting as it is now.
Well, you know, I think FIBA has done a great job of expanding these competitions to try to include as many regions as possible. You know, certainly the ICC, one of the great tournaments, allowing the champions of these various leagues to come together, you know, was a great moment in my coaching career. But you know, anytime you're bringing together the best players in the world on the global stage, it's just a great opportunity for not only fans but the players themselves to see some great basketball.
And of course, exciting summer here for the Continentals, both the men and the women. We've had the FIBA Asia Cup. Now we're in the FIBA AfroBasket. Well, the FIBA Asia Cup is still going on, but you know, after this, then we've got the FIBA America Cup and then the EuroBasket. So I mean, and you can watch it all live on Courtside 1891. Just make sure when you're shown the QR code on the screen, download it today. But a very exciting summer, Coach. It's not over then, because as of November, then we start the 2027 FIBA Basketball World Cup qualifiers.
Yeah, I can't wait. I mean, that's the beauty, right? It's now round the clock. There's always international basketball, important games being played, great opportunity for fans to follow these great players.
Well, Coach, you look at some of the young talent in this team, and let's start with Angola, of course, Valente being obviously one of them, and you know, you were that coach that identified Shilde Dundal. What was it about his game when you first saw him that you thought, you know what, I'm going to give this guy a chance at the national team level?
Well, you know, when I took over, we knew that we were going to have to start incorporating some of these young players to build another generation. So, you know, that was one of my main goals early on, was to try to identify young players here in Angola that I felt could contribute, you know, as a 19, 20-year-old, to set the stage for them later on. So you can see that with a lot of these teams here at AfroBasket. So we saw that in the last game, Omar Ballo making his AfroBasket debut and really delivering for them. And of course, we saw his success at the under-19s. You know, Yves Misi, another guy. It's going to be really exciting to see him with Cameroon. You know, there's several young players here at this tournament making their debut who, you know, 4 years from now are going to have to be prominent players for their national teams.
You know, when we look at Libya, I mean, most of these players are now in their mid-20s. And it makes you wonder when, you know, we still have this tournament to kick off. That's going to be exciting to see them play. But in the mid-20s. They haven't even reached their prime yet. I mean, you look at the likes of Abu Fada, not to mention the big man, Abdul Gada Rezek. I mean, they're only 25 years of age. It makes you think, this is a team that, you know, Coach Vincent can really start to dig deep and start to really work with as the future progresses.
Well, and you know, we also have to remember in these last 2 drafts, two young, very promising African players. So this year, Kaman Malawach, who was, you know, featured for South Sudan, and then Ulrich Komchi for Cameroon. So, you know, these are guys who are going to star moving forward. You know, I understand in their early careers in the NBA, wanting to keep their focus there, but you know, as we move forward with their national teams, these are going to be the names who will carry the torch into these next tournaments.
Well, fans, again, we are live here in Luanda, Angola, the opening game of Group C. Our host nation, Angola, up against Libya. We do like to apologize for the technical issue in the delay. The game is temporarily suspended. We will keep you updated when we get any further news, and we do thank you for your patience watching live. The arena has all the Angolan fans. I've seen some Libyan fans waving the flag tonight, and if it's one thing I've got to applaud about the locals here in Angola, they love the sport so much, and it seems like a very just passionate, but also, you know, a very inclusive atmosphere for everybody.
Yeah, you know, it's a joyous atmosphere. So I can remember all my games played here, always had that same vibe to it. So, you know, the drums, the dancing, the smiles. For a lot of people, the national team is the premier event here in the country. So, you know, I think this nation is always a proud nation when it comes to basketball, but certainly as the host of this tournament, wanting to show the continent and, of course, the world how important basketball is to this country.
Well, many legends in the building. We already saw Jean-Jacques Conceição as a part of the golden era, the golden age of Angolan basketball. No doubt many more legends. Eduardo Mingas, Lionel Paulo will definitely be watching on. The legacy those players built. Cash Gomez as well was a part of that, but gosh, I got to tell you, I look at this Angolan team and you know, I have this conversation with everybody. Had Bruno Fernando been healthy in Manila, that final game against South Sudan, who knows? Who knows, coach? Who knows who could have made it to Paris? But, you know, the rifle team in the M1 and now with South Sudan, and I just kind of feel if you have a final, a hypothetical situation, a final between South Sudan and Angola, what a rematch that would be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Angola would be chomping at the bit for that rematch. Obviously, a very different South Sudan team here at this tournament. But, you know, I think for Angola, their primary focus is really showing this crowd what they're capable of. I think once it was announced that they would be the host nation, immediately all the pressure went on them to lift the trophy. And the roster that they bring here to this tournament really should be able to deliver.
Well, we're just waiting for the news to find out where we are at the moment now. Again, we do apologize for the technical issue that we have been facing with the shot clock. A big thank you to all the fans watching live for your patience. Players are still currently on the floor getting shots up, trying to stay nice and loose. And that is a key thing, coach. These delays, you never know how long they're going to take. And I've seen these delays all over the world of international basketball, but key things, stay loose, stay mentally prepared. But you see in some players now they've shot around and just taking a slight little break at the moment.
Well, I think the hardest part is when you don't know how long the delay is. So, you know, certainly, you know, a previous game goes to overtime or, you know, whatever it might be, and they notify you that you're going to have, you know, an 8-minute, 10-minute delay. And so now you can start to plan your warm-up accordingly. But when you're out on the floor right now and you don't know when it's going to start back up, I think it's really challenging as a player to know how to ramp back up to that game level of focus and warmth in your preparation.
Going back to the fans though, coach, I mean, one thing that really impresses me, this is how you know this is a basketball country. Not only do we have Angola national team jerseys on many of the fans out here, we got some jerseys that date back to the 90s. We've got NBA jerseys out here. Coach, I've even seen a Basketball Champions League Benfica jersey in the building. That is impressive. These fans, I mean, it's kind of an understatement to say that they love their basketball.
Oh, they love their basketball. And of course, Benfica, the Portuguese connection to so many great Angolan players. So you'll see a Benfica jersey around Angola for sure.
No doubt, Carlos Moraes had a season at Benfica. Eduardo Francisco also currently playing for Benfica. I mean, as you mentioned, the connection is very real, but right now, national team duties, that pride, that pressure, that is what's taking over everything at the moment. Well, the Angolan players, just trying to stay loose. The music has been great, but you know, that opening ceremony, Coach, I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like it before. I've seen some great opening ceremonies across the globe, and they've all been fantastic. But tonight, well, that rivals the best ones.
Well, you know, I'm lucky enough to have seen a lot of these opening ceremonies in this arena. They've all been electric. You know, even the dance squad, I can remember. There's a unique dance to Angola called Kuduro, and watching it for the first time, watching our dance team perform it for the first time, really special. And when we finished, we were hosting one of the qualification rounds. We finished that round 3-0, and one of the moments that I'll remember, everybody as a staff even came out to the court trying our best to dance Kuduro. So, you know, certainly the culture of dance and music really quite alive here in Angola.
Hey, Coach, you know, I've got to give you some praise now. I've got to pay you some homage because, you know, we've known each other since 2019. And a lot of coaches do the same. And, you know, I think this is one thing where you guys don't get enough credit for. You were here for 2 seasons. You're fluent in Portuguese. The locals seem to know you very, very well. You've embraced the culture so much. I mean, it's almost like you are Angolan. You're an honorary citizen, excuse me.
Well, I appreciate you saying that. You know, I think that's one of the beauties of coaching national teams. So it's a way to really learn the culture. And I think in order to have success coaching a team outside of your culture, you've got to embrace and understand what they represent. So, you know, for me, those 2 years, learning what basketball meant to Angola, learning, you know, what the culture as a whole was here, was a great experience for me.
And what's interesting, of course, we touched base on this with Uganda's star player, veteran player, Obong. You know, he has a career that expands nearly all over the globe for almost a decade and a half. And the comparison I made is when you compare players in the NBA, especially to the international game, a player in the NBA that's played for many clubs, many people will maybe look at that and start to ask questions respectfully. You know, we're talking about a lot of clubs, but it's very normal to see international players play for so many different teams across their career. And I would say the same with coaches because, you know, you're in many different posts, but I got to tell you, I admire the fact, I admire your fluency in Portuguese, but also just your depth knowledge of more than just basketball, Angolan culture.
Well, I do appreciate that. Yeah, you know, in a lot of ways, the profession internationally, both as a player and a coach, is about survival. So you touched on it. Your ability to constantly find teams is usually an indication of success, and certainly when you see it with the players, you know, having gone to various clubs throughout Europe, all these coaches and clubs talk to each other.
Absolutely,
so,
yep.
You know, if you don't carry the right professionalism, obviously you have to deliver on the court, but quickly you can find yourself without work. And I think it's a testament to these guys when they're able to go from high-level club to high-level club.
Because when you are coaching at this level of the international game, whether it be the top teams in the Basketball Champions League or the BAL, or, you know, even with a historic country like Angola, what are some of the day-to-day processes that you went through as a coach when you were with the national team?
Well, you know, I think for me, the NBA G League experience was really helpful. You know, in the NBA G League, you have a lot of roster turnover, so you have to be able to identify quickly the strengths and weaknesses of your group, try to put your players in a position to be successful. So the national teams are very similar. You don't have a ton of preparation time. You've got to be really efficient with what you want to do. You got to come in knowing where your team's strengths lie, how you can showcase those strengths, and, you know, really come in with a plan. So I think it makes coaching challenging, but also very rewarding.
And probably the biggest legacy that you'll remember back in your time in your career was with Nigeria, winning that AfroBasket and taking them to Rio to the Olympics. I mean, just that experience, what was that like?
Well, that 2-year run was really magical. So obviously winning the first and only AfroBasket championship for Nigeria, the way in which we did it, with our captain Ike Diago hurt, not able to play in that tournament, and then going to Rio and really having a chance of getting out of that group. So, some might recall we beat Croatia, who won the group by 14 points. We had Spain, who won the bronze medal on the ropes, 1-point game, 2 minutes to go. So I think it really signaled to other African nations that the best teams here could compete with anyone. So, certainly watching South Sudan have a competitive Olympics as well was great to see.
The competition, definitely since the golden age of Angola, has, simply got bigger and bigger. You mentioned it, Nigeria coming up on the world stage, you leading them, well, that group of players, of course, to their first ever gold medal. And then it became about Tunisia. And then, of course, the big talk has been, South Sudan. But, South Sudan, great team. A lot of expectations to win this championship, of course, here in Angola. But you said it, Coach. It's anybody's tournament. It's just so well balanced, so many good teams. And, even in that talk, we got to talk about the 4-time champion Senegal. We could go on forever. I couldn't tell you who's going to win this tournament.
No, absolutely. And honestly, probably the team we haven't spoken enough about are the defending champs.
Yeah.
So, Tunisia, they've lost some of their veteran stars, but this is a proud program with a huge tradition of success. And, I don't expect them to lay down quietly.
Well, no doubt Tunisia looking to become 3-time champions to win consecutively, but that is going to be a tough test. Even after winning in Kigali, Rwanda back in 2021, we went straight into the 2023 FIBA Basketball World Cup qualifiers, and it became very quickly that there was a team ready to make noise, and that indeed was South Sudan. Well, the talent pool in this tournament, it's very competitive. We haven't even mentioned Cote d'Ivoire. Cote d'Ivoire, one of those teams that possibly don't get enough credit that, that I should be giving them, but, they were brilliant in the qualifiers.
Yeah, they really were. And, I'm sure they're coming into this tournament with a ton of confidence. Another team that really, truly believes they have a chance of winning it all. Should be an outstanding tournament, fun to watch these games play out.
Well, again, fans, we thank you for being very patient. We still don't have any news on the situation, but we will keep you updated whenever we hear something very, very soon. But it looks like I think the Libyan players are just going to be temporarily going to their changing room until we get further notice about when the game is ready to take back. Again, we do apologize, technical issue that we are trying to resolve, and we thank your patience. The 2025 FIBA AfroBasket. I think the Libyan players maybe going to the changing room, maybe just to stay slightly warmer, but the Angolan players still remaining on the court as it stands.
Yeah, definitely not an encouraging sign here, seeing Libya as they walk into the locker room. So we have not been informed as to what the issue is. I know I've noticed the shot clock. Maybe we can find something out here.
Well, the AfroBasket was happening every 4 years along with windows of qualification. So we've seen some mighty games over these windows, and the best teams, they had to finish in the top 3 of their groups. If you want to talk about Libya, it was that one final game in Libya in which they played against Cape Verde. Well, it wasn't the very last game, but it was the one game that they won that did seal the deal and get them qualified to the AfroBasket. Libya, unfortunately, losing some of their best players due to injury, but for them, getting back to the highest stage of the continent, playing against the very best, really making it count where it counts. But look at this Angolan team, Coach. We did allude to it earlier. There's definitely a fine balance of veteran players in sort of not necessarily their prime years, but towards the end of it. Also players like Bruno Fernando, Gilson Bango in the midst of their prime. but also some young and upcoming players as well. And I just feel that's a great recipe for a championship caliber team.
I mean, they do. They've got a great balance. You know, obviously a lot of young, up-and-coming players. You know, Bruno Fernando, only 26 years old. So I think they're set up for a lot of success moving forward. I think the one area, a little bit more depth at that point guard position. You know, for them, Shilda Dundao carries such a large load for them. You know, were he to go out with an injury, I think they'd really be in a tough spot. So is there another point guard they can develop? You know, Nato, a young player who will be at Boise State this year as a freshman in the United States. I think he could be that next player for them to play alongside Dundao, really give them that two-headed monster.
Well, Coach, I've just seen one Yannick Moreira in the building, one of your former players, and a 2019 Basketball Champions League winner when he played for Bologna. Because Yannick did play at the 2019 FIBA Basketball Cup for Coach Will Voigt. Well, fans, again, we do apologize. Technical issue that we have been facing with the shot clock. We do thank your patience for watching live here, wherever you may be watching in the world. And remember, make sure you follow the AfroBasket on all social media platforms of X, Instagram, and Facebook to get all the best news, highlights, and content that matter to you most. Remember, this is the 31st edition of the FIBA AfroBasket, and now hosted by the most successful team in history, and that being Angola. Well, again, fans, we are just waiting further update to find out what is going on. The Libyan players, of course, have just temporarily exited the floor. We are just trying to come to some solution. Now, the Libyan coaches or representatives have returned to the floor, so we are going to try to get some update very soon on what is going on.
Well, you know, I spoke with the Libya coaches as they were walking off the court to the locker room, the issue being that opposite end shot clock. So I know in these scenarios, one of the options is to turn both of the clocks off and have one clock at the scorer's table. You know, really their concern is not to give one team a competitive advantage over the other. So I don't know if that's a possible solution to this, but, you know, obviously this delay is hard on everybody.
Well, it's a very tough situation, of course, in these circumstances. Unfortunately, they do come about. The Angolan players just trying to stay nice and loose on the floor still. As mentioned, the Libyan players have returned to their changing room, but we are trying to find out further updates. Well, it's as you said, Coach, eyes on the prize, and I do indeed think both teams really just want to get back on the floor, but until we kind of just get further update, the Angolan players happy to stay on the floor and get further shots up. Well, the home crowd has stayed in the building. That's the key thing. They haven't left whatsoever. And I think definitely a testament to their loyalty and their passion for the game of basketball. But I mean, they have made an outstanding atmosphere right from the get-go, right from the national team. And that was a very, very beautiful moment. Something, you know, I've seen Angola at many live tournaments. 2 FIBA Basketball World Cups, 1 FIBA Olympic qualifying tournament. But to see them here live in Luanda and to experience that national anthem, and I think now we're seeing Bruno Fernando just having a few words with the fans, and that's also a very special moment. The bond, of course, with these players and their home fans, definitely a beautiful sign.
Well, interesting too, you can see one of the Libya players over there talking to the federation president, so I'm sure there's a discussion now as to whether or not they want to continue the game. So it would have to be something that both teams would agree to under the conditions You know, again, I'd spoken earlier about the possibility of both clocks being turned off. I have seen that happen in international competition, but both teams have to agree to play under that circumstance. So, you know, if Libya were to decide that they didn't want to, unfortunately the game would have to be rescheduled. So I'm sure, you know, as we see people huddled around the Libyan Federation president, that's probably the discussion being had right now.
Well, those talks very well may be taking place as now Angola are going to exit the floor and maybe just go to the change room. Remember, we are in the southern hemisphere, so it's slightly a little bit colder this time. I mean, it is Angola's winter, but probably just to stay warm wherever possible. But as you said, discussions have to take place very soon to find out what deciding action does need to take place. Because, you know, these, as I mentioned, it's not a case of it being inevitable, of course. I mean, we've had a very good start. We saw a very exciting opening game in which Senegal did play, you know, 3 very tough quarters against Uganda. Then we saw Egypt in a very, very great game against Mali. I mean, Coach, these things happen, of course.
You know, unfortunately they do. And, you know, it's going to be interesting to see how they handle this situation. I mean, you alluded to it earlier. Somehow they've managed to keep this crowd in the building. You know, how much longer are they able to do that? Could be interesting, but you know, I haven't really seen much progress being made here. So my question really is that I think there's more likely a scenario where both teams have to agree on the conditions in which they would continue the game tonight versus trying to pick it up from the start tomorrow.
Well, as mentioned, other games in the 2025 FIBA AfroBasket taking place in the meet, but well, now we're just bringing the cheerleaders on the floor to try to keep the crowd engaged, of course. You got to give respect to them, Coach. I mean, I'm very impressed with this home crowd because to be able to sit through this and the circumstances that are unfortunately taking place. Well, again, fans, thank you very much for your patience. We're just trying to get one final further update, but it looks like some of the players are returning to the floor. So we're just trying to get further notice, a positive sign at the moment. The Libyan coaches have returned from the changing room, while Pep Claros and his coaching staff are also returning to the bench, but we still haven't had final confirmation. Again, we do thank you so much if you are still with us. We do apologize for the technical issues that we have been facing in this game at the moment due to the shot clock, but just awaiting one final confirmation. So far, a very positive note to see the coaches returning to their benches. If you have been with us the whole time, it was a great sign. Now the players are entering the floor yet again. We haven't been given any official word at the moment as to what the outcome will be, but the fans right now from Angola loving to see the return of the players. Well, a big respect to these players and these coaches, of course. Still some uncertainty whether this game is going to resume, but a positive mindset nonetheless, no doubt about it. The atmosphere has been electrifying. Well, the players have returned. We're just trying to get that final confirmation. We're seeing them now in a two-line warm-up. They did go to the changing room after the delay that we did face due to the technical issue that we had with the shot clocks. Positive signs, as again, we've been given no official confirmation, but things are looking positive. This is the 2025 FIBA AfroBasket, and we're live here in Luanda, Angola, the 31st edition. The winningest team in the history, Angola, looking to win yet again another championship to put to their trophy cabinet. While Libya, it's been a magnificent return for them to the FIBA AfroBasket. After a very challenging FIBA AfroBasket qualifiers, but they did qualify in their home country in an epic victory, a close, nail-biting game against Cabo Verde, Cape Verde. Like I said, it's very positive to see that the players have returned to the floor. There's Luke Kenny. And you got to wonder, if the game does resume, what kind of impact he'll have in this game. He was featured for Angola last summer at the OQT at the 2023 FIBA Basketball World Cup and at the previous AfroBasket in Kigali, Rwanda. But like I said, fans, we are waiting one final confirmation. The key thing right now, as we mentioned, the players have returned from the locker room, so something is giving them inclination. We are just awaiting one final message to say that this game will go back underway. Well, if you are watching live, wherever you may be in the world, remember, make sure you follow AfroBasket on X, Instagram, and all other social media platforms. A lot of highlight reels, a lot of exciting moments we've seen so far here in both Luanda and Namib in this AfroBasket. And as Coach Will Boyd said, you know, definitely it's going to be the most balanced, possibly one of the most exciting AfroBaskets in history. Competition that did begin back in 1962. And as of 1989, became, you know, the royal guard, I'd like to call it, in which Angola made itself an international basketball country. Well, the referees have given signal. The players are now going to the bench, and Coach, that might have been one of the longest delays I've ever seen in the history of international basketball, but I'm telling you, this could add a bit of drama to the twist of the tail.
Well, you know, it's going to be interesting. Well, you know, I think we hold our breath anytime we see the shot clock do something. But my understanding is if the delay goes beyond 20 minutes, I feel that the visiting team has the right to say they don't want to play it. So in this case, a lot of logistics behind it with both teams traveling to Namib tomorrow. I'm sure there were a lot of discussions behind closed doors to try and see if there was a way to get this game underway. And, you know, we're cautiously optimistic, but let's hope that this game will resume.
I think that's a very good point you made there, Coach, because, you know, someone had alluded that to me, of course, as well during the break, and, you know, I just wonder, these Libyan players, this coaching staff, it's a very busy schedule they have here in this AfroBasket, and you know, they could have gone with that option, but it looks like they haven't gone with it. So mad respect to them, credit to them. A very long delay, but these two teams of this delay, maybe it just might go in their favor slightly, of course. You saw the energy from this home crowd and the physicality, the intense defense from Angola, especially Shilde Dundao in the full court, and this man, Gilson Bango, inside the paint. Who knows? Libya may have some fortitude from this.
Yeah, you know, I think it's hard to predict how this affects either team. Such a long delay trying to maintain, and you know, now we see the basket coming down again. So,
well, the one basket that was having issues with the shot clock is being looked at yet again. So players have entered the floor. Maybe it's a technical issue they're just trying to resolve at one last minute. But as we said, the referee signaled for the players to go to the bench. And now we see them back on the floor. The same five who ended previously. So this is very interesting. Well, the first two games, a lot of excitement. As expected, Senegal winning. But it wasn't a walk in the park. They had to really gruel it out to the fourth quarter. And Egypt, same case for them. They had a lead. Mali came back not once, but twice. That 11-0 run in the fourth quarter, you started to ask the question, well, how that one was going to end, but Egypt prevailed. because there was 7:17 left in the first quarter, in which we did see this unfortunate delay. Now, I'm trying to remember what part of the game we were in at that point.
Yeah, definitely kudos to anybody that can tell us who had the ball when this game was stopped due to the shot clock outage.
And of course, you know, I don't think I've seen fans go for maybe a little bit of a beverage and a snack probably, but I haven't seen anybody leave the building.
Well, that's what's amazing. You know, that's really looks like the case. So all these fans eagerly awaiting this game to get back underway, and you know, obviously they've all come a long way to support their team here. You know, beautiful arena here in Quilamba, but I know firsthand, very difficult to get out here for these events. So there's really only one freeway that leads to this arena, so traffic can become brutal for these games. So I've heard of 3-4 hour trips for people who are in the city center to get out here, and these are journeys these fans willingly make. But obviously, when you've committed that much time to see a game, you're not going to just pick up and leave for a shot clock delay.
You know, talk about the fans. Many of your former players now obviously in here in the building as fans. One, Yannick Barrera came over.
Yeah, you know,
how's he doing?
No, it's great. It's been really fun for me being here in Angola, and you know, I've had a lot of fans come up just on the streets, but certainly in this building, running into Yannick. Gerson Domingos also here. We got a chance to catch up with him. You know, even Pavo, our team equipment manager from my time, was catching up with him earlier. So, you know, made a lot of great friendships during my time here. Really fun to see all of them back in Luanda.
He's had quite an exciting career, Yannick Barrera. I remember when he played for you back in 2019, that summer at the World Cup. He was coming off the back of playing for Sasha Djordjevic and winning the Basketball Champions League with Bologna. But great to see him. He doesn't look like he's getting any older. You think he might want to suit up again?
Well, you know, he's still playing. In a lot of ways, sort of a controversial decision by Coach Carlos when both Yannick and Carlos Moraes were left off of that roster. You know, Yannick playing with Petro. You know, had a chance to talk to him earlier. He had been battling some knee problems, but said he was feeling fine. So I'm sure he still has some great years left in his career.
Guess I got the time to spend a bit of time in the BCL Asia in Mongolia on 2 trips, and I got to know one of his former university teammates at SMU, Jordan Tolbert. And you know, you speak to Jordan Tolbert about playing with Yannick Barrera, just said tough as nails battles. You know, really one of those the kind of players you really want to go into a final with. That's what he would say.
No question. Well, you know, Yannick made his arrival on the world stage with a huge game in defeating Australia in the World Cup. So, you know, a player with tremendous talent, as you said, was with Bologna when they won Champions League. So he's had a ton of success, and you can see now that even the players trying to go over and
I was just about to say that. I love that. Look, you can't see it on our screen, of course, but where you can see the shot clock that's had issue, the basket that came down, then they put back up. Angola's greatest current player at the moment, Bruno Fernando, is over there helping the technical staff. I'm telling you, that is greatness. That is greatness.
Well, you can see now with our cameraman picking that up. Yeah, Bruno's been over there doing what he can to get the basket to stay up, help these guys get this shot clock operational.
They love their basketball here, and even the greatest player willing to take time, which, you know, he could be using to warm up, maybe get into a bit of rest, but you know what? That's dedication. That's loyalty right there from my mind.
Well, you know, there's certain hardships that some players just would never understand, and you know, that was one of the joys for me in coaching African nations is, you know, the ability of the players to persevere through a lot of hardship. So, you know, having been in the NBA, sometimes the good life can spoil you. So, you know, here it's all about basketball, all about representing your country, and you see that with Bruno over there trying to help these guys fix this basket.
The players have now left that basket. Still shooting on the floor. The shot clock, like we said, on our left side, where the Libyan players are warming up, doesn't seem to have any issues. But now Bruno trying to get the crowd into the game. But as I said, the players still getting ready. The players still getting hyped up, and now the home crowd getting into it. So like I said, positive scenes, but it has indeed been a very long delay, and you have to respect these two teams, these countries. No doubt this will be a game probably that's going to be talked about for a very, very long time, depending how the outcome goes.
Well, if you're Libya, you're certainly not very happy about how things have turned out so far. So I really think it's a case, because of the tournament format, because both teams travel to Namib, where you really have to find a way to get this game in. I'm sure Libya is aware of that, trying to do everything they can to be accommodating to the circumstances.
The officials have signaled 5. Now I think they're alluding to the fact 5 players are on the floor. I think we are ready. Basketball fans all over the world, from myself, Josh Bett, and Will Voigt, as they would say here in Angola, a big obrigado, a big thank you for your patience. A big apology, of course, for the massive delay. But I think we're ready, Coach. And Coach, a big thank you to you as well.
Well, let's keep our fingers crossed here. So I think everybody wants to see some basketball. I think every time we look up at that clock, we're holding our breath. And perhaps the decision is that they'll play with it not operational.
Well, if that's going to have to be a circumstance, well, we got to get things going, that's for sure. It's been a very long time, but Coach, in game time, well, it's only been 2 minutes and 43 seconds. We're back underway. 2025 FIBA AfroBasket. Angola currently leading against Libya by 2 points. We'll take down the middle. Now with level. That's a nice little penetration. I like the way, Coach. He shows no fear at the defense.
Well, Libya had 45 minutes to draw up that play, so it's great to see them come out and execute. And really happy to see this game back underway.
Dundell goes for 3, can't get it. Now Libya have numbers. They want to run. Goes in. Big Bruno. Said no, sir. Not in my house. Now they got numbers. Here we go. Oh, baby! Welcome to Luanda.
Oh, that will wake this crowd up. Your 2 highlight plays there. Tremendous rim protection from Fernando, of course, Bango with the finish. And another block.
Another one. Wow. Not welcome in the house of Gilson. Not welcome to the house of Bruno. And now they go to Bango. Gets locked up. Now that's going to be caught on the ground, so no free throws going up for Bango. What do you call this, Coach? Protect the paint at all costs. Buonanotte. Good night. And one more time. Bango, Bango time.
Well, you can see the size and athleticism of their bigs, what they bring to the table.
Well, we got a problem, Coach. Badrouche is bleeding at the moment from the head.
Yeah, it looks like he might have cut an elbow. You see him also holding his leg. Clearly, must have been some contact on that play there.
I don't know if it was that play or the previous one, because he was trying to post up Shilde Dundell. You can see both players. Almost like they would say the chicken wing at each other, the elbow.
I mean, clearly he's got an elbow.
Well, Coach, Superstar is on the floor at the moment. We're not seeing him on the scrimmage. Right here, this is what I'm talking about, this play.
It's really hard to tell where the cut might have come from. You know, maybe they hit heads there. You know, obviously both players got tangled up. And you see Toy there.
Icon.
His iconic pose. Oh, wow, they're coming with the full wrap here.
Badrouche tough as nails. They're going to continue playing. That's the kind of player he is, but as mentioned, you heard the reaction from the crowd when Toy entered the floor, and it's my first time seeing him in person. Many years seeing him in qualifiers.
Well, Toy is the king of entertainment, so You know, a lot of the time I'm in timeouts and not watching what's going on, but I've certainly, after the fact, watched the video and get to see him do his thing.
Well, they definitely love him here in Angola, and they love him in the international world of basketball. Well, Badgers does actually have to leave the game because it was a split of blood. So now Hadj coming into the game, I guess, for him temporarily, but we'll see how this Libyan 5 features. Angola leading by 2 points. Valente. Now they want to go to Shilde Dundo. Fernando wanting to post up the Mango. Flashes high. Unfortunately, throwing that one away. Good defense by Libya. Libya's got to get into a good half court. Valente comes up with it. Excuse me. And now converting it to fast break points in the home crowd. Not losing a single ounce of energy from that delay.
Well, great play there. Reading the passing lane. You see the pressure now. Forcing another turnover here.
Well, you thought they might have put a foul Malachi, but yeah, another Libyan turnover. Badgers coming back into the lineup here for the Libyans. Just wonder, was it that coming together of the heads there between him and Dundo that may have led to the unfortunate cut on the head? But you know, he is back on the floor, and that's a good sign for Libya. Mango coming up in a high screen. Dundo finds Fernando. Bruno down the middle, all the way. Well, it's a delay call, so free throws coming up for Bruno Fernando. The foul indeed will be called on Libya's number 11, Vergara Rezek. So, hey, coach, you kind of look at this team, you kind of feel Libya can't afford to get into foul trouble.
Well, you know, I think Latverush's injury also, not a lot of depth at that point guard position. You know, he brings a ton of steady leadership for them. You saw just a mini run there from Angola with him out. He's thankfully back on the floor here to steady the ship.
Second free throw good for Bruno Fernando. 5-point lead currently, and again, hands in the passing lane. Malachi just simply hungry at the moment to get out and transition. Just a bit too much congestion here in the half court. Angola anticipating everything. They'll put up a tough shot. Fernando able to keep this one in bounds. Mango trying to find Dundo. Suffocated defense currently here from the Angolans. You got to remember, every big moment, whether it's on the defensive end or a bucket, just gets his home crowd. Dundo. Libya's got a counterattack. Noma's in transition. Badgers goes for 3. That's a big play from him. You said it, coach. They cannot afford for him not to be on the floor.
Yeah, he's so important for them. Such a steady leader, and you can hear this crowd ready to erupt on any big play for Angola.
Well, the right idea, the high flash from Valente, but coach, these passes, when they're lob passes down low, they've got to be better to Bruno Fernando.
Well, you know, I mean, that's been their game plan. So they're going to have a post matchup with one of those bigs. So they've been trying to feed them high-low. Libya doing a great job of fronting the post, making those entries difficult.
Badgers playing point guard here at the moments. They need some assistance in the backcourt if they're going to come out with a victory. And a traveling violation. So many costly turnovers here for Libya.
Yeah, another backcourt violation there. The pressure climbing in all the way at half court, really disrupting Libya's offense. That's going to be the challenge for them. Can they execute their offense with the amount of pressure that Angola is going to apply throughout this game?
Well, double change coming in for Angola. Lucchetti coming in for Valente. Was Silvio de Souza. Maybe Gilson Bango, breather. I spoke to Silvio. He had some time playing in Thessaloniki, and I asked him about the derby, and he said, hey, that is one of the best atmospheres I've ever played in.
Yeah, and you know, Silvio started his career out at Kansas, another young player that I kept tabs on, so it's great to see him here performing.
That juice made his last swing. He's got another one. Fernando towers for the rebounds. Now Angola want to play quick. Fernando put the ball on the floor. Going to that high ball screen. Dundon, too quick.
That is what he can do. He is a jitterbug. He can put a defender on skates as he does here.
That angle, I think it's a little bit more definitive, but you think the foul came on the block or the reach in on the original drive?
Well, you know, a lot of times with these smaller players, any kind of contact, they get the benefit of the doubt. So, you know, Schilder does an excellent job of attacking the rim. He's throwing his body recklessly when he comes in to drive, and you know, often he's rewarded.
I mean, we remember back in Manila when it was both him and Herschel Dominguez in the backcourt. That might have been the most explosive backcourt of that World Cup in terms of the speed and the tempo those two played at.
Well, and it's going to be interesting to see who gets the backup point guard minutes. So will McKinney slide over to the one and Schilder comes out of the game? We'll have to see.
Excuse me, my apologies. Don't missing the first free throw. Still haven't seen Selton yet. Now we have just almost played 6.5 here in the first quarter, but it would have been a lot. Lane violation against Libya, had the free throw been missed, but Dundon makes the second one. 3-point lead currently here to Angola. Now looking to kick out. Goes wide. Second end of the game for Libya. This is positive, coach.
Well, really great ball movement there. You know, started with Babrusha's drop off and then finding the kick out to the perimeter three. So excellent execution.
That time Almagribi making the three-pointer. 1-point ball game currently. Almost 3 minutes to go here in the first. Dundon finds De Souza. Would have been a true good night moment from Silvio, but in the end, it's another foul against Libya. Let's have a look here at the replay. Nice pick and roll sequence. Definitely a follow through there on the block shot attempt. So here's another look at Almagribi's three-pointer. That's going to have to be a change. So Dawo coming back into the lineup, and you compare the size of both these two teams, and that's probably an area of advantage Angola definitely possesses over Libya.
Well, not only the size, but just the overall depth. You can bring a player like Silvio De Souza off the bench. It is a nice luxury to have. So that's really going to be their game plan. Can they wear Libya out with their size, constantly looking to duck in, feed the post? A lot of what they're going to do is going to revolve around the rim.
Well, there's a lane violation again. Now, Libya would have been penalized with the same thing when Shilde Dundon was at the free throw line. But, you know, Coach, going back to the depth, you know, I've always loved, whether it was when you were coaching Angola or Pep Claros, the bigs run.
Well, you know, the athleticism that they possess gives you a lot of flexibility. So, again, you know, seeing Bruno out here on the perimeter, you know, a guy who's playing the 5 primarily in the NBA.
That's good work from Dawo, just putting Silvio De Souza under pressure. So that's going to go back to Libya with 14 fresh on the shot clock. 2:42 to go here in the first quarter. So Libya just making a change. So coming into the game is Sofian Ahmed. He's a 25-year-old. He does play for Al Ahly Benghazi in the first. He also spent the first part of the season playing in the United Arab Emirates in Dubai. Not only showing it on the perimeter, but now taking it inside the key.
Well, great finish there. Probably a little bit of contact as well, but he's been such a steady presence for this Libya team so far.
There's a seal-off. Fernando, pump fakes in the end. One-handed jam. You knew it was coming.
It's really been feast or famine on these high-low passes. So, you know, their bigs are trying to seal, and half the time they've been turnovers, but when they deliver, that's what you're going to see.
Libya's done a good job so far. That third It's a good offensive rebound. Only 2 points separates these two teams. The Badgers put in the rush. Doe comes up with it. Angola have numbers. To Doe, he'll fire a three. It's up. This arena. Are you kidding me, coach?
Yeah, they are ready to erupt at every big play. Shildo Gandao, always the spark plug for this national team.
I think starting on the defensive end here for the Angolans. That's a tough shot.
Yeah, really nice turnaround jump shot there.
He now has 5 points tonight. He did hit that earlier three-pointer. But Fernando inside the paint again. It's got a mismatch. Tries to go himself. Why not? Hey, that's a mismatch.
Well, and that's going to be Angola's game plan. They're going to find the post matchup that they like and continue to try to feed it. But right now, Libya trying to front. Be interesting to see if they adjust, play behind, try to bring a trap after they receive the ball.
Well, here's a seal-off. You know, Libya's done a relatively good job of making that a tough entry pass, but that time, you know, what do? Do you clog the paint even further? I mean,
well, the tough part is the entry. So because it's top of the key, it's really hard to load up on the weak side. You're kind of all in on the man fronting. So I'll be curious to see if they adjust.
Well, go screen set by Gaku. Pump fakes. Now pulls up for 15. Got it. It's all flying in at the moment here for Angola. Well, Libya almost took that. That's going to be another Libya turnover. And coach, you can definitely see when Badrouche is not on the floor, things just don't seem to go in their favor.
Yeah, you know, this backcourt's going to need to stay disciplined. So, as you mentioned, Badrouche really the only Libyan guard so far that's been able to handle it well. They've got to stay calm under pressure, continue to execute their sets without turning it over.
Well, the timeout has been cool. We'll go down to hear what Coach Vincent is going to try to address to his players.
Keep the dribble. Keep the dribble. When you pick it up, now you got to throw it. Keep the dribble. Okay? And you can call a pick and roll. Let's keep the ball. Next time down. Next time down. 2-0. How much you coming off hard? Okay? You're coming off first. Zillow's coming off second. Okay? After Zillow comes off, punch. Okay? Get it here to the big. Get the ball here.
Well, Angola currently leading by 7 points. Well, Coach, I'm starting to wonder, who is the biggest superstar right now? Which player? Or is it Toy?
Yeah. Well, you know, Toy is Mr. Entertainment. So definitely these fans love seeing him out there. But, you know, I think the early highlights that we've seen, some of these dunks, you see the lob there from Bongo right now. These players have given plenty of entertainment as well.
Well, here's that part you mentioned about Luke Kenny, now playing primary point guard role with Dundal on the bench. Luke Kenny from the mid-range, pulls up. Guy doesn't get the lucky drop. Libya now can have the final possession. Trailing by 7. The home crowd just trying to put on a bit of extra pressure. Somebody's got to go to Dow. Dow's got to shoot it. Time winding down. And that's the end of the first quarter. The bucket would have counted either way. But Angola will go into the second quarter with a 7-point lead now. Well, we've seen some moments of inspiration here from Libya. Badrouche being probably their most influential player, but Coach, Angola, I think we're still yet to see their best.
Well, you know, I think it's always hard for anybody to find a restart after such a long delay. So there have been some plays that have been getting out in transition, but I'm sure Coach Carlos wants to see more of that.
Libya yet to take a free throw. Both teams have only one 3-point field goal each, but Angola 7 out of 11 from within inside the rainbow. Yes, we do want to say thank you to all the viewers and a big apology for the long delay we had, but let's look at the highlights from the first quarter. Here's where Angola really set the tempo early. Defensively, they were very tough. And even when you felt like Libya were going to build some momentum, it's coming from the backcourt, it's coming from the front court as well. Angola, they look very tough to break down, Coach.
Well, you can see they're trying to find the post matchup that they like. Libya's trying to front that, make these entries difficult, but it's feast or famine. So if that ball is going in, there's nobody on the weak side there to rotate in time. So if they're not stealing it, these are the dunks for the bigs. So I'll be curious to see if there's an adjustment there. Maybe start playing behind and look to double once the balls come in. You know, we also haven't seen any zone yet from Libya. That could be another adjustment that maybe Coach Vincent looks to go to.
Well, Angola's defense, as great as it's been, it's forced 9 turnovers from Libya and it's come up with 4 steals.
And that's what they do. You know, they want to be disruptive. You can see them picking up full court. They're able to force 2 backcourt violations with the ball pressure. They want to wear you down over the course of the game.
Well, fans, if you love international basketball, then use that QR code and download Courtside 1891 for the best streams, schedules, and scores. Courtside 1891, the home of international basketball. And now we get set to begin the second quarter. Angola leading by 7 points. They will have first possession. Kenny playing with Selton here in the backcourt. Showing up for a high ball screen. Nice hesitation, kicks out. Gacko again going off the dribble. Showing out like a house on fire.
Well, and you saw Libya go to the zone that I talked about, you know, unable to get the stop there. Be curious to see, was that a one possession defense or something they're going to look to use more often.
Now we're kicking this one out. Here's a good look. I'll make this one. It's wide open, uncontested, but those have to go in for Libya. Kenny now with a bit of crisscross action. But Coach Claros wants his team to get into a half-court set. The double horns action. Gaku's been on fire. On the big offensive board. Buchetti finds Selton. Angola's going to get another crack. Selton deep three, it's up. Maybe that should be a sign for Libya. Maybe experiment with his own defense that you mentioned about, Coach.
Well, I think they need to do something, show some kind of different look. Momentum of the game, kind of getting away from them a little bit.
That's turnover number 10. Still number 5 for Angola. Selton bumps, goes in. That's going to be pulled on the ground, so no free throws coming up for Angola. Go back to that game against Spain, which they did lose, but it's been great so far off the drill. But I tell you what, I just simply admire about Selton's game. His ability to, number one, play very quickly, but also very composed.
Well, you know, he's another one of these young talents that's going to be an important player for a long time. So, tremendous season at Maryland. Excited to see his continued development in the G League this coming year.
Buchetti going for a clear out. Now Silvio trying to establish position at the double block. Buchetti. Twisting, turning, nowhere to go. Silvio. Hey. Oh my goodness! King Silvio cleaning up the damage.
Well, the other part about the fronts is it really puts you in a tough rebounding position.
Libya just trying to manage how to break down this full court pressure from Angola. If we are Libya, you see this full court zone press. I mean, look at this. Nice move by Buchetti. But Silvio with the bunnies.
And you can see he's able to seal his man off because that man is fronting.
Still number 6, turnover number 11. Buchetti goes in and he'll throw it down one hand. It's becoming the Angola show at the moment.
Well, it's these turnovers. This is how Angola wants to play. Libya maybe needs a timeout here to settle their group down.
Biggest lead in the game for Angola. No foul goal. De Souza comes up with a rebound. And Angola want to run. Yaku's been on fire. That time deciding not to pull the trigger. Still a man-to-man matchup here from Libya. Time winding down for Celtic. Finds Ukeni. He's got to shoot this one. Can't get it. Now it did hit the rim, so that should be a reset. Yaku, he'll fire a three. And another offensive board. Yaku. Home crowd saying to Celtic, give it to him. He's wide open. Celtic, a little teardrop. That's not going to go. And again, that might be the best transition we've seen from Libya so far, Coach.
Yeah, you know, Self Miguel, an ill-advised shot there. Missed Gaku on the cut, and that led to the leak out for Libya.
Ali Madi, the player who finished in transition. Well, Celtic may have got away with a push-up. It's not going to go. Libya looking to cut it down to single digits, trailing by 11. Just over 3.5 played here in the second quarter. That's the shot, but hey, count it. Nice take by Sofian Ahmad.
Yeah, really tough shot there. Probably not what Coach Vincent wanted, but they'll take baskets any way they can get them right now.
Absolutely right here. The way this Angolan defense has performed with 6 steals, forcing 11 Libyan turnovers. You're right, they'll go with anything. There's a throw down by Lukeni. He was featured in the 2021 FIBA AfroBasket Kigali, Rwanda, but it's got to be Lukeni time when he's going to be the primary point guard.
Yeah, you know, great to see him out there as that floor leader. You know, something we envisioned for him as a young player when we first called him up.
Still number 7, turnover number 13. Finds Silvio. Silvio, really decisive, still got it. Too big, too strong. Another miss. This is where Libya's got to capitalize. Dowie, nice penetration. Last one, Coach. May just be defying the laws of gravity at the moment.
Yeah, a lot of easy ones going in and out for both teams.
Angola getting good looks in the perimeter, but nothing converting here at the moment. Almost halfway played in the second quarter. Coach, it feels like we're in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, it really does. Libya needs to find a way to execute here. Badru's been so important for his team offensively.
Matty, pass, and you had a wide open Dow in the corner, but he hits their third three-pointer of the game.
Well, he better hit that one. As you said, Dawo wide open in the corner. Should have been an extra pass, but able to make the three.
And now Miguel, they go under the screen. He'll fire a three. Angola's three-point struggle still continue. And your response to that shot, I think, was perfect. He better make that one. Double change, triple change go for the Angolans. There's another look at the three-pointer by Ali Madi. Joseph Bango coming in for Silvio De Souza. Malachi also coming in. Shilde Dundo in the backcourt, so he's going to partner with Lukeni. So, Coach, I imagine Lukeni's probably going to shift to the two-guard role.
Yeah, I mean, anytime that Dundow's on the floor, he's the clear floor general for them. Lukeni off the court right now, so they're going extra big with this lineup here.
That's right, so it's going to be probably in the three here, I imagine, but interesting lineup here.
Well, this is where I'd love to see Libya explore more zone. So, you know, if Coach Carlos is going to roll out these huge lineups, I think you got to challenge them to show that they can make perimeter shots.
Seen by Sofian Ahmad, who now will go back to the free throw line. Because he is one of the few players who actually, for this Libya national team, who started the regular season not in Libya. Now he's spent the bulk of his career playing for Ahmed Benghazi, who he was playing with at the end of last season. But as mentioned, he was playing for Al Shajaa in the United Arab Emirates League.
Well, Sofian, a really big part of their success during the qualification round. So, you know, somebody they'd rely on to come in and contribute. You saw it with that difficult mid-range shot he made earlier, and here getting to the free throw line.
All of a sudden, that 13-point deficit has has been cut down to a 2-possession ball game. So Libya right now still competing here in the first half. And credit to them. Good dough. To Papa Gakko. That's the kill. So foul. That's good execution. So he'll go to the free throw line for Angola.
And Angola continuing to find these close mismatches. And you can tell that's going to be their game plan. I think it's also interesting to see Dundao now on the court with a bandage on his eye. So surely there must have been a head-to-head contact between him and Babouche.
So that probably does give us a definitive answer. That was the case. But you know what's interesting? It shows you how tough both Shildy Dundao and Badrouche shot, because when it happened, neither player showed any sort of like reaction as really pain. It's almost like it happened so quickly.
Well, yeah, and even Badrouche almost a minute later before you notice the blood. So these two warriors going head-to-head.
Under 4 minutes to go here in the second quarter. Final seconds. Badrouche just made 1 3. High arc. Unfortunately, goes out of bounds. Now we're fighting for a rebound, but Angola's going to retain it.
Well, and the pressure there again, getting to Libya, really forcing them to run their offense further out than they would like. And you see the zone here.
This will be interesting. How does Angola break down the zone? It's going to be a traveling violation. Coach, I think they may have hurt you.
Well, I think it's the right move. You know, it's these interesting lineups that Coach Claros will roll out there, but a lot of times he puts very little shooting on the floor. So I think you've got to counter that with more zone or defenses that are going to challenge them to make perimeter jump shots.
Well, Libya's going to call timeout, so we're going to head to their bench to hear what Coach Vincent has to say. Well, definitely a good response from his team when going down by 13, but like I said, all we have to do, Coach, is go back 2 years ago to Manila. But again, basketball fans watching live, use that QR code and download Courtside 1891, the home of international basketball, where you can get all the best streams, scores, and highlights that matter to you most. Courtside 1891. Well, here's where Libya's got to find consistency here in their offense. Foul is going to be called on the ground. That one's going to be against Gakko.
I think that's the right
on Bango,
move.
actually. Sorry, my apologies, Coach.
Yeah, I think that's the right move. You know, all this guard pressure, sometimes you need your bigs to help release some of that.
On a legal screen, I think. I don't know if this is on Badrouche or they're going to call this on Dawo, but that's a costly move there for Libya.
Those two guys going head-to-head from the start. Obviously, very physical between the two of them. I think Badrouche feels like Dundao held him a little bit. Again, Libya in the zone here.
Fernando back in the lineup. Kicks out. Well, that's one way to play the zone. Kokila. Libya going to that 2-3 zone. Angola fighting a few demons.
Well, if Kokila is going to be hitting threes, if the bigs are going to be hitting threes, I think it's a long night for you. So I wouldn't let the one shot rattle what they're doing. I like the move. I think as long as they're rolling out the big lineups, you got to continue to make the feature.
Fernando just being called for the foul, trying to rush the ball screen. There's another look at the three-pointer by Kokila. And you're right, Coach. If this team learns the lessons, finds out how to make perimeter shots against the zone, it will be a long night. Jump in aspect. Not get it. It's going out of bounds. Angola will get it back with 2:39 to go here in the second quarter. So Libya's not out of this game, but if we aren't careful in this next 2:39, this could become a bigger margin, coach. Now they go back into a match-man matchup. Bango comes up for a quick screen. Dundol finds Fernando. Final seconds. Dundol's got to think about it. Montes gets it off in time. And another big offensive rebound by Bruno Fernando. Twisting, turning, good hands. Now Libya like to run. Anybody going coast to coast, enjoying the foul. And this is where they can have an advantage because we've seen time and time, coach, he will play quickly.
Well, great hands by Dawo there. You know, you thought Bruno Fernando was getting ready to throw it down, and that led to the fast break. It's been hard for Libya to find easy points in transition.
The double change coming in for Libya. This re-entry play is going to be Al-Maghribi. He does have 4 points tonight. It looks like a potential, a provisional substitution. So this guy who's only played 4 minutes and 29 seconds does have 2 points. He will be subbing in. He is indeed going to be subbing in for he has come into the game, actually. So it looks like they've been on that take to the basket by number 2, Ali Madi. That is why Busquets has come into the game to shoot these free throws. Simple one, no good. The foul has been given, so these are the kind of fouls, coach, you don't want to give away, though.
Can't afford to do that. Although they've done, I think, a pretty good job keeping them off the free throw line, considering the size advantage Angola has.
8-point Angola lead. 2 minutes to go here in the second quarter. Fernando trying to post up against Dawo. Duquetti kicks out. Coquillas made 1-3. Makes it on. Well, if he gets on fire, coach, you said it, it's going to be a long night.
Yeah, it really is. I just think with the size that they have, you got to pick your poison somewhere. Coquillas is certainly capable of knocking the three down, but if he's going to be their leading scorer, I think you got to roll the dice.
Andrews trying to find some separation. Fernando getting another rebound. Angola leading by 11, but again, looking to extend this lead. They've led by as many as 13. Now Dundol will find it open. Goes in all the way off the back. Giving them that 13-point cushion. So then athletic Okada trying to get it. His dad trying to battle, but it will go out of bounds. Well, coach, when they had it down to 2 possessions, yet again, with 52.8, Angola in very good position for a 2-for-1. This could get even bigger by the halftime break.
Yeah, well, obviously, Coquillas feeling good after those 2 threes. We'll see how they execute these last possessions here.
Well, Pep Claros right now demanding more from his plays. Duquetti. It's going to be a kickball violation, so a fresh 14 for Angola. It's still enough time to kind of go for that 2-for-1.
Let's see what kind of set they run here. As you mentioned, need something quick here to get the 2-for-1.
Double high horns action. Dundol. Got to get something going quick. Time is winding down. That's a bump. No foul called. So that 2-for-1 most likely off the cards now because now we have 2.9 seconds difference between game and shot clock.
Yeah, not great clock awareness there from Dow. Needed to get something up quicker than that.
This is for Libya. You want to try and get the very final shot here if you can.
That's not what you want there. Kind of a silly foul on the reach here from them now. Gives a chance for Libya to get some points here at the end of the half.
13.2 left. Badrouche currently at the free throw line. I mean, that's only the second missed free throw of the night, but they've only attempted 5 as of yet, though. Going good. Well, Angola's got to call timeout. They're going to try to draw something up here in these final seconds, but you got to think they have been in total control. I mean, Libya's only leading scorer at the moment is Nassim Badrouche with 7 points, and you got to ask the question, Coach, where are the points going to come from?
Well, you know, really outside of him, there hasn't been a player for Libya that's found any kind of rhythm offensively.
You're gonna play pick, ¿sí? Vamos a tener a Joao, vamos a tener a Lupene, contra hombre o contra zona, y vamos a tener a Silvio. Silvio, tú vas a jugar espello con este bloqueo. Fases 1 y fases 2. Troquen o no, fases 2 veces. Y mira que él va a ganar a posición aquí. Vamos a dar la bola adentro. Vamos a dar, porque es mucho drible y no llega la bola. Vamos a tener que llegar. ¿Sí? Es 1, troquen o no troquen. 2, él gana posición, pase dentro. No bajes. Pica verde. Cuando lanza, ataca y resalto, todo menos José. José también, ataca y resalto. ¿Sí? Vamos. Angola!
Well, it's going to have to be something very precise here from Coach Pep Claros' players, but you know, he's come off the bench and kind of answered those questions. His team, they've got to learn how to shoot three-pointers against the zone, because when you go up in the medal round potentially, that's what they're potentially going to see, Coach.
Yeah, some big threes there. And you heard from Coach Claros in that timeout. I guess you heard if you knew Portuguese, but he talked about what to do versus man or zone. So I think really smart job by Coach, being prepared if Libya comes out in a zone here, knowing what they want to do to execute for the last play.
13.2. So Dow's going to let this roll, but now he gets it in. Going for a post entry. There's a baseline. Silvio de Souza. And that's way too easy. Maybe a one final drive. Badrouche gets it off, but that's not going to go. And that is the end of the first half. The biggest lead of the game for Angola, 38-24, and their opening game here of the 2025 FIBA AfroBasket. Well, did he get this offense on? That's the question, but he wouldn't have had it anyway. Well, Coach, so far from this game, I mean, there's been some things to talk about for Libya, but Angola, where do you think there's some areas that they've really got to take this game and really run away with it?
Well, I think it's the shooting. So, you know, they're able to find some threes there late in the half, push this lead out a little bit, but they're still only 3 for 12 in the game from 3. So, you know, oftentimes as coaches, we go to zone defense and those threes seem to hurt more than normal, but I think overall that's really their only shot. They've got to keep it compact, hope that Angola misses from the perimeter, see if they can rebound those misses and get out and run.
Well, the rebounds and the assists clearly tell a big story, but you know, only 3 offensive rebounds in the game for Libya. And you made a very good point. You got to get points wherever you can, and second chance points. It's not only got to be the bigs. The backcourt players have got to do it as well.
Yeah, no question. I mean, the size advantage for Angola is going to play out on both ends on the offensive rebounds. But for me, too, I think it's taking care of the ball. So handling that pressure from Angola is going to be really important for Libya here in the second half.
Well, the players go into their locker rooms. A lot to talk about for both coaches. Angola may have the lead. Remember, the winningest team in the history of the FIBA AfroBasket. They would love to see another championship. But while it is a return for Libya, they have things to talk about, too. Well, we'll take a look at some of the key highlights here from the first half. Gaku having some good looks from the mid-range, but I got to tell you, Angola's defense really has set the temperature in this game.
Well, ball pressure is their key, so you can see at times they really were able to climb in, be disruptive. Libya's got to find a way to handle that.
Well, here's some good moves, of course. Silvio doing what De Souza does best, whether it was in Greece 2 seasons ago or whether it's for the national team. That's second chance points. That's just simply wanting it a little bit more than everyone else.
Well, and that's really kind of their style. They've got these big meat grinders in there. They're just trying to push you under the rim, find opportunities to get offensive rebounds.
Well, here's some good transition plays by Ali Madi. And, here's where I think he could give them a bit of inspiration. Get out in the open floor. Come out with a rebound. Try and go quickly, even if he is the outlet or not. Just play as quick as you can.
Well, they've got to come up with easy baskets somehow. It's really been a grind for them in the half court versus that pressure.
Well, fans, it's halftime. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back in just under 13 minutes.
Education, health, justice. We sometimes take these simple things for granted. They're not common for all of us. We are all born on the same planet, but not with the same opportunities.
Whatever our gender, color, belief, or capability, we are one. We are all on the same team. Let's convince those who never thought they would do it that they can. We can. Together, we are stronger. No matter your origin, basketball can bring everyone together. Basketball for good.
Hanging on the rim and keeping the hopes alive. Who's going to take the shot? It's going to go to Cougar. He's got the ball. Hayes, you got to box him out. Here goes Jimmy Jamrod by with a turnaround. And Jimmy Jamrod by experience, and he has been doing it all day long, folks. Oh, the alley-oop. Where did that come from?
Holy cow, what a pass and what a finish.
Gonzalez takes it away. Oh, and he dunked it. And he looks at him.
Wow. He knew he was there, Jeff. Just waited for him and then crushed it through the hoop. Big time slam.
Like today, the opening day of the AfroBasket. The ball inbounded, Almeida put it on the highlight reel. Unbelievable. He inbounded the ball off the back of one of African basketball's greats, Carlos Moraes. Mamadou Faye into Ibrahima Faye, goes up for the dunk, he doesn't make it. Quickly to Fofana, go! Unbelievable. What a turnaround for the Elephants.
Incredible explosion of offense and defense from Les Elephants.
Conde behind the back pass to Conde, and the foul. Goodness me. Put it on the highlight reel.
Yeah, beautiful behind the back. That's where they want it, sideline.
Turned it over, not what you want out of a timeout. Oh, you pass to Junior Madut. Look at this play, the pass and the flush to Madut. Now Dwayne Dean goes behind his back. Entry pass again.
Holy cow. Incredible play by Ding. And the finish by Kuth. He's becoming a problem for Uganda.
Oh, goodness me!
Oh my God!
Where did that come from? The elevation. Let's see if that ignites Kenya. This is the dunk of the tournament. Oh my goodness.
That is unbelievable.
These guys will be legends in their own country, but also in the international basketball world forever.
Well, welcome back, basketball fans. We're live here in the city of Luanda, the capital of beautiful Angola, for the 2025 FIBA AfroBasket, the 31st edition. And it's an opening game for the host nation. Angola currently leading by 14 points against Libya in what has been an exciting game. And again, we'd like to say a big thank you and apology at the same time for the delay that we did have. But so far, Angola, coach, the delay had no impact on their game whatsoever.
Well, you can see early on, playing inside out, Kokila finding some threes, which were sorely needed, but just the size of Angola, something that Coach Claros is really doubling down on.
Well, 22 three-pointers have been attempted between these two teams, and only 5 have been converted. Angola currently 3 out of 12 at the moment. 2 of those, of course, coming from that man, Kokila. But that may be a big part of determining, can this team win the championship? Because as we've seen in the past, they struggle from the three-point line. But if that's something they can improve, Coach, the title could very well be theirs.
Oh, no question. If they're able to find perimeter shooting, I don't think anybody can beat them in this building. So that's going to be the challenge. They want to roll out these huge lineups. A lot of those guys not playing their natural positions. Are they going to be able to knock in perimeter shots when they're out there?
Well, the players now just started to make their way back on the floor. A big respect to both of them for having to, see it out, because as you mentioned, the delay was very long, and both of them could have decided, hey, look, let's just call this one, and we can reschedule. But credit to the fans who also have been incredibly loyal and passionate tonight. They stuck through it, and I'd say the atmosphere, well, it's been simply incredible tonight, Coach.
Oh, absolutely. This crowd has been amazing. But, it's challenging as a player to keep focus for that long. So, we're 2.5 hours into this game, and to really stay with your attention to detail can be difficult. So I'm curious to see what this second half looks like. I'm sure fatigue is going to set in. Who's going to be the team that can fight through that?
And we talk about Angola's identity. It's always with the defense, always in transition. I think at one point at the end of the first quarter, they'd already had 4 steals and, forcing Libya into 9 turnovers. And for sure, that stat has improved immensely so far here in the game. 6 steals in the game for Angola, 13 turnovers for Libya. It's not the biggest margin in the world, but the thing for Libya, Coach, I got to ask you, where are the points going to come from?
Well, that's a great question. Outside of Badrouche, there hasn't really been anybody to find any kind of rhythm whatsoever. They got to figure out a way to get easy baskets. Maybe that's transition, whatever it might be. Maybe getting to a little bit more early pick and roll. So, they like running this weak action where Badrouche is giving the ball up, then trying to get it back. And I think Angola's pressure has just made it so hard that once he gives it up, a lot of times they're turning it over before it's back in his hands. So maybe some simpler stuff, come down the floor, immediately get into a pick and roll, see if they can let Badrouche create early in the possession.
Well, one thing Angola don't lack is size and hunger inside the paints. You talk about Big Bruno, Big Silvio, and also Big Gilson, all 3 of them. They're just relentless. 10 offensive rebounds so far in this game, and they've done a decent job of converting some of those offensive boards into second chance points.
Well, 20 points in the paint overall to just 8 for Libya in that half, I think tells the tale. And that's exactly how Angola wants to play. So they try to wear you down with their size and physicality. Certainly they've had their way in this first half. We'll have to see how Libya can respond.
And no doubt, you alluded to this, the depth for Angola, respectfully, due to the injuries that Libya have had coming into this tournament. They had a magnificent journey qualifying for the AfroBasket, but 19 points coming from the Angolan bench. And what's interesting, Coach, both teams 9 transition points each.
Yeah, you know, surprising to see that. I think, you know, Angola early on was able to force turnovers into transition. You know, later in the half, it was more of the violations that they couldn't run on. So, you know, right here we see 2 of my former guys, Yannick Moreira, Gerson Domingos, and, you know, I was able to catch up with them over the break. So great to see so many former players here watching.
Well, only 24 points in the first half, 9 out of 25 from the field. And, you know, Badrus has had some good looks from the perimeter, but I just got to ask the question. It's also about creating high percentage looks. And then you've also alluded down to the fact that that's just down to their defense of Angola. They get in your face. But, you know, going back to Libya's when they went to the zone defense, you know, they played it for a very small time, and then they came out of it, Coach.
Yeah, you know, I mean, obviously Kokila hit 2 big threes, but I think you've got to be patient with it. You know, they haven't really had a whole lot of success with their man either. Sometimes throwing a different look can change the rhythm of the game. You know, we saw that with Egypt when Mali made their comeback. I just think that Libya has to find something to gain a little bit of momentum here.
Well, just under 2 minutes and a half and returning to the second half. This is the final game of game day 1, but the opening game for the hosts. And if you were with us from the beginning, what an incredible showcase. The opening ceremony. I'm telling you, Coach, you know it better than me. You worked with the national team as the head coach for 2 years. They just do it at a very, very, very unique level here.
Well, it's such a fun environment to play in. You know, the crowd, obviously, but the showmanship that's behind it. And that's really indicative of the style of play here. You know, similar to Brazilian soccer, the fans have an appreciation for the flair. So you can hear it when a player crosses over a defender or, you know, any sort of stylistic move. So it's always a really fun environment to play.
Of course, where we are today, the genesis, it all began back in 1989. And a gentleman not sitting too far from us by the name of Jean-Jacques Constançal, he was a part of the history of where this all started. All it takes is for a country to be successful, a champion at any level, a FIBA AfroBasket, Basketball World Cup, an Olympics, and there you have it. The seeds are then grown, the passion grows from there.
Yeah, no question. I mean, it's such a great history of basketball.
Well, basketball fans, you see that QR code, and that is the QR code for Courtside 1891. Scan the QR code to get the Courtside 1891 app, where you can watch live streams and extended highlights of FIBA competitions and friendly games ahead of the 2025 FIBA AfroBasket. Well, Coach, I just wonder, what do you think would have been the message for Coach Vincent to his players? Down by 14, second half coming up.
Well, I think, you know, it's really one possession at a time, so you're not going to get this all back. They're not a team that's really playing up pace or forcing a lot of turnovers, so they just have to be patient with what their execution is. I think also, you know, one of the adjustments they might need, again, a little bit less ball movement, you know, possibly try to find an easier way to find baskets.
Well, there you can see the final words coming in from Coach Vincent. And again, these players just have to come out and play collectively, cool, calm, and as composed as possible. Well, Libya getting first possession. Valente back in the lineup here for Angola. But again, Angola just putting on that relentless full court pressure. As Badgers struggling to get the ball over the halfway line. So Only 1 second on the shot clock. Coach, we saw this in the first half, actually in the first minute.
Yeah, they're going to need to look to throw this long here.
Well, there you have it. That's the Angolan defense. So Angola getting this one back. Well, Angola getting a baseline. Trying to extend on this lead. Neither team getting something here in the beginning of the second half. Well, quick mid-range by Fernando. That's a little too short. It's now to Dole. Now we're on to 10. And that is a turnover. But not quite the start Angola wanted here in the second half. But now a chance for Libya. Trying to build something. Depends on how it kicks out. Angola spread goes in. Count it! It's not the first and one of the game for Libya, but a chance for them to chip into the deficit.
Oh, great find and finish there. You know, got very deep in penetration. I'm surprised he's able to see the big, but great drop off.
Well, getting to the charity stripe. Possession by possession, a way they can try to compete in this game. So a change coming in. Jilson Bango's going to have to go to the bench. Well, Abdul Rezeg. First 2 points of the night for him. Well, he's not able to convert the three-point play. Dundal now waiting for that high screen. Valente coming up. It's now Fernando finds a bit of an opening mid-range. Well, again, that's a step back three, but he's unable to get that. Not usually a part of his game, coach.
Yeah, really not. I think with the clock winding down, was forced to create something there.
Oh, nice dime. Dowell goes up. Gets rejected. Well, big Bruno with the denial. And here comes Angola. Bit of contact. And coach, that's how you convert turnovers with the fast break points.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, a great block there from Fernando, and then that feeds their fast break. That's how they want to play.
Well, here comes a steal. Here comes the throwdown. Goes in with a layup, actually. And Angola going on a 4-0 run. Another penetration down the middle. And I like what we're seeing, though, from Libya. We're seeing a little bit more of a tenacious way to get into the paint. And, you know, Badjur's, again, going to the free throw line here for Libya.
Well, you know, I think these guards are just kind of on life support out there, trying to find any way to puncture this pressure. I'd love to see them set some early ball screens, see if they can loosen up some of the pickup points that Angola is using. It's just been so difficult for them to find any entry passes to their offense.
Do you think maybe there's a bit of a lack of confidence because Badjur's maybe their only stable, I wouldn't even say he's a point guard, he's more of a combo, if you like, a scorer, but there's nobody really out there at the moment that's kind of out there as a floor general.
Well, then that's definitely it. I mean, he has carried the load for this team, and you know, it's obviously asking a lot of him to be in a ton of pick and roll, but I just think it's the only thing that they really have going. So when he's giving the ball up and they're pressuring those entry passes, it's been very hard for them to find shots.
Well, you have a turnover now. Badjur's to have numbers. He's going to go up against Dundal one more time. Getting denied. But Libya comes up with it. There's the pump fake. The Souza standing strong. Badrouche going for a quick three, and that's way off the mark. They're trying to follow up, and this time Souza comes up with it. It's become a block party tonight here in Angola. Silvio with contact. Finish. Another turnover and another steal. And that's 8 steals tonight for Angola. Dundo. Looking at the traffic, but that's going to remove their ball on the baseline.
Yeah, it's amazing. A player that small, when he gets downhill with that pace, still able to find players. And here you see Badrouche thinking he's got the clear path, and again, an Angolan player coming out of nowhere to swat it away.
Well, the superstar has entered the floor, the global icon, Toy. He's brilliant, isn't he? He's amazing.
Well, no delay is going to slow Toy down, that's for sure.
9 on the shot clock here for Angola. The Souza flashes. Then for the double team. And a good dunk. Good catch. Sweet light string music.
Well, Bildao with the rainbow threes. This is what he does. And of course the crowd erupting as he hits the big shot.
Ahmed left wide open. He's made a few tonight. Not going to get this one. Both Valente and De Souza fight over the rebound. Down the middle. Well, I mean, it looks worse than it was, but I think that is basically Darrow attempting the Euro step, which, you know, good move, but I mean, going up against Silvio like that.
I think De Souza definitely gets him with the hip here.
I mean, it's a foul, no doubt about it. I mean, going into Silvio De Souza is quite costly.
Well, it probably did not feel good, that's for sure. And, well, not a small human, so that's just gives you an idea of this front court size for Angola.
I mean, you know Silvio as well. It's interesting. I mean, he plays so tough. I mean, he's simply brute force. You should talk with him off the court. I mean, the nicest guy you'll ever meet in the world.
Yeah, you know, another one of these young players that I kind of was able to follow their career. So at that stage, Silvio was a highly touted high school player, went on to Kansas from there, but he was at IMG, one of the top prep schools in the U.S. when I first took the job. So really fun to watch his career develop.
Second free throw, no good. 16-point lead still to Angola. Joe made his last one. Thinks about this one. That's going to be a kick ball violation. Dow doing a good job of trying to keep Shilde Dundao at bay there. That's one part I like about his game as well, Coach, is he does a good job of rushing on the ball screen and just being able to recover, but how many bigs are going to be able to do that against Shilde Dundao?
Well, you know, maybe one thing for them to consider is actually trapping these ball screens. So sometimes smaller balls. There you go.
He's got that Baron Davis game about him. He doesn't care how big you are. He goes in the paint. I mean, he shakes, he bakes, and he makes the and one.
Yeah, you know, I think he's starting to get in a little rhythm here. But I was about to say, if I'm Libya, I'm probably going to look to trap these more. See if he's able to pass through the size. I think he's shown when he gets downhill, not afraid of finishing over their team.
I think one of his best games that we saw together at the international stage was against Gilas Filipinas in Manila at the World Cup. I mean, he's one of those players, he can change the tempo of any game.
Well, you know, he's so dynamic, and I think just seeing how hard he's playing out there can motivate your team and the fans, of course.
Well, good hands. That one could have thrown that one down. Now Angola looking for their first 20-plus point lead of the game. Good screen set by Silvio. Finds Valente. Why not? Great shot. It is good. Yeah, you gotta love the atmosphere here tonight. Libya calling timeout because Angola have the 22-point lead.
Great kick out there. And Valente in his debut showing why Coach Carlos put him in the starting lineup.
Well, we're going to head down to Libya's bench to find out what Coach has to say. Let's listen up. Or use that QR code to download the official FIBA AfroBasket app on your smartphone, your tablet, or Android. Of course, it was exciting during the qualifiers, but now we're live here in Luanda, Angola. Download it today using that QR code. Oh, Coach, they may be the winningest team in the history of the FIBA AfroBasket Angola, but it's been 12 long years since they won that championship against Egypt. Of course, Carlos Moraes, one of the greatest, led them in that tournament, and they need someone like Shilde Dundao in the backcourt to really lead this team where they can against the very good teams in this competition.
Well, I think that's going to be the difference maker for them. Can they find consistent perimeter shooting in this tournament? If they can, they're going to be very, very hard to beat.
Dundao picking up Badrush. Mugabe just having to help out here in the backcourt. Time winding down here in the shot clock. This guy goes in, can't finish, and a foul has been, it's a blocking foul. So this is good for Libya, trying to get to the charity stripe.
Yeah, close call there. Looks like Tequila just not quite in position.
Currently at the free throw line, Ahmed Bouzgai, only 3 points so far. He has taken 2 free throws so far. There's another one of the many players on this Libyan team that does play for Al Nassr Benghazi. Second free throw, no good. Halfway gone here in the third quarter. Valente now looking to attack. Penetrates. Goodness gracious! Valente just served up a poster.
Well, having just hit the 3, you can see they closed out a little bit harder to him. Grips baseline for the thunder dunk.
24-point deficit. Nothing going in at the moment. Another offensive rebound for Libya. Has been committed. Pat Flowers loving what he's seeing from his players at the moment. A lot of credit. This is what I like to call Forza Angola. One-handed flush. Are you kidding me?
Wow, well, what a debut it's been. You know, solid defensively, hit the big 3, now following it up with the baseline drive. Some really good minutes there from Valente.
Well, Dow's going to come back to the lineup. So here comes the Benfiquista for the first time tonight here for Angola. And he has featured for Benfica in the Basketball Champions League, Eduardo Francisco. Because he didn't play for you, but he did represent Angola at that 2023 FIBA Basketball World Cup.
Yeah, not only represented them, but started some of their games. So you can see Coach Carlos is is going to mix things up. Everybody getting minutes in this game. I wouldn't be surprised to see a different lineup starting the next game for them.
Kenny also back in the lineup. Not a lot of depth there for Angola. It's going to be another foul against Badrouche. That's his second personal foul tonight. Too much of a concern for him.
Well, you can see they're trying to exploit these matchups wherever they might have them, 3, 4, or the 5.
Remember, these two teams also have to go up against South Sudan and Guinea. Here in group C, of course. Kenny now with a fadeaway mid-range jump. Both Dow and Sylvia the Sosa making contact, but play continues. 6 minutes gone here in the third quarter. Saved by Badrouche. It's much better, but coach, they just need that more and more from him tonight.
Well, I like what they did there. That's what I was talking about earlier. Like, just set an early ball screen for him, let him get downhill and be a playmaker.
I'm not quite sure what happened there, but I'm not sure if a foul was called or a traveling violation against Uket. No.
Yeah, I think it's De Sosa with a push in the back there.
Quite physical between those two players, coach.
Well, De Sosa's a big boy. Let's see if we can see it here.
You see too much in that. I mean, it's a foul. I'm not going to argue with that. I mean, it's definitely the right call, but I don't think Silvio did too much to really send Dow to the ground, but definitely the right call.
Well, I think Dow will probably get a little embellishing there, get the referee's attention.
He got him a trip to the free throw line, but again, the free throw struggles tonight here, not only from Libya, but from both teams. This 8 free throws this evening. 3.5 to go here in the third quarter. Good anticipation on defense by Vizcaya, but Angola's going to get this one back.
I think if you're Libya, not only for this game, but this tournament, you've got to find something offensively to work from. So I liked what they ran before, just a real simple high pick and roll for Badrouche. But they've struggled so much offensively. You don't want that to weigh on you as you head into your other group play games.
I'm not quite sure what's happened here, but it's going to be Angola ball, but the officials just having a word with the technical delegate team. The play is going to resume, no issues at the moment. The doubt by this guy currently. That's the defense coming from Ali Madi, excuse me. Kokila finds good down. Shot clock. Now that touched the rim. Kokila comes up with the offensive rebound. Angola get another look at it.
Yeah, those are backbreakers. Libya forcing a difficult shot, only to give up the offensive rebound.
Like a nice entry pass, but in the end it's an offensive foul against Double K. Libya does have one foul to give here in the third.
Hard to tell from that angle. I think the elbow came up a little bit on the entry pass.
It's going to be another Libyan turnover. I feel that Libya's frustrations right now, be careful, this 20-point lead could become bigger in the next 3 minutes and 1 second.
Well, and that's what Angola does, right? They're trying to wear you down with the pressure and the rebounding. Libya's got to be poised enough to keep their mind standing. Bigger than just one game. Point differential as you move on and group play becomes important. You know, can they withstand this pressure enough to be able to execute them. So let's see if they go back to that high ball screen we saw earlier.
Points difference just so imperative. Every game, every possession matters at this stage. Madrush. That's around Dundol, but good hands by Shilde Dundol. Mazu Kenny. Another foul is going to be committed, but this one's going to be against Libya.
Well, that last possession, that's not really going to be it for Libya. So, isolating Badrouche at the top against Shilde Dundol, not a favorable matchup for him. So, I think they have to find the balance, right? Hard for them to go side to side with ball movement, but maybe a simple ball screen or some Spanish pick and roll with the shooter setting the back take on the big. Just something to create.
That simple pick and roll action there between Luke Kenny and Kokila. And how do you defend that one, Coach?
Well, you got to have your backside ready to rotate and help. I think Libya's sort of in between a drop and a shove. I think at this stage of the game, nothing to lose. I'd like to see them maybe a little more aggressive with the pick and roll, see how these guards handle that for Angola.
Kenny waiting for that high ball screen. Kokila coming up. Now to Kenny for three. Carrega Benfica, but now it's Forza Angola for Francisco.
Well, Francisco coming in untouched from the perimeter. Even with the switching from Libya, you got to have the other players involved and ready to block out.
Now putting heavy defense against Busgaya. Offensive rebound. Busgaya goes in. The chance was it was good defense by Francisco, but he left. Busgaya to go in for the buffet. Kenny penetrates. Trying to slip a dish up to Kokila, but now turns it over. And with this time, Coach, Libya could go 2 for 1. It's a clear in the corner, but that's not going to go. Now good time here. Actually, Angola could go 2 for 1 if they go a little bit quicker. Leading by 22 points. There's the Horns action. Now we're on the 10 of the shot clock. Dundol. Well, left wide open. Kokila. That's inevitable. I don't know what happened defensively to Libya on that play, Coach, but I don't think Kokila, wow, Dower just fell to the ground, I think.
A little concerned about this moment in the game. Simply the fighting spirit of Libya seems lacking right now. They've got to regroup here.
Dundol is coming over to Still. Huge mid-range. A positive way to end the third quarter, but having said that, Angola leading by 22 points, and we still have 10 minutes to play.
Yeah, I think a really important break here. Coach Vincent's going to have to rally his troops a little bit. What can they lean on to climb back into this game, but also not let this game get away from them? So a lopsided loss can be devastating in group play.
Well, we'll take a look at some key stats, and then we'll look at the best highlights from the third quarter, but as it stands.
Y a veces ya el 5 está con você. Él se va a postear. Óyale el pase directo a él al 5. El 5 peor defensor. Lo atacamos.
Well, 34 rebounds in total for Angola. The offensive boards have been crucial with 14 assists to 6. 18 turnovers, one too many. But even Angola, Coach, 13 turnovers to them. That's got to be something that they're going to reflect on big time.
I mean, there are definitely areas of improvement. I don't think Angola has played a perfect game by any means. But, having the crowd behind them, getting that first game out of the way, I'm sure they're feeling good at this moment.
Like I said, people do also need to remember they are missing some very key players due to injury, which is very unfortunate because, they made history themselves in which that big win against Cape Verde in the qualifiers that saw their return to the AfroBasket. And, every team wants to come with their best players, but it just hasn't been possible due to the injuries for Libya. But you credit these players. They've come in. They have played hard. They've done as well as they could have so far against a team who are heavy favorites to win a championship.
Yeah, I mean, a tall task for sure. And I've really liked, Badrush has, I think, played an outstanding game for them, but he can't do it alone. And I think Coach Vincent's got to figure out something here offensively that they can hang their hat on. How are they going to create an advantage versus the defense that now these other players can play off of? It's really been a struggle for them offensively, and they're not a team that climbs in and forces turnovers themselves. So, finding easy baskets is going to be a struggle.
Well, Basel fans, use that QR code and download Courtside 1891. Get the app, scanning that QR code where you can watch live streams and extended highlights of FIBA competitions and friendly games ahead of the 2025 FIBA AfroBasket. Final 10 minutes. This game has been quite the drama due to the heavy delay we had at the beginning of the first 3 minutes due to the issues with the shot clock, but Angola pretty much in total control. Nice seal off by Fernandez. He'll go to the free throw line.
And there's that horns high-low play that Coach Carlos loves so much. They've been trying to milk this all game long. This time playing behind on the switch. They're doing a great job of sealing for the end one.
Angola tonight, they've only taken 9 free throws, missing 3 of them, but action you mentioned there, the horns and then trying to go for the dump down. You kind of wonder, how's that going to go against South Sudan? How's that going to go against a potential crossover against, a Senegal, a Cameroon, or Cote d'Ivoire, Egypt, or Tunisia? That would be interesting.
Well, I think too that the other thing we haven't seen from Libya is trapping that pick and roll. So they've been switching or in drops, not with a ton of success. So I think at this stage you really have nothing to lose. Plus, I'm sure all the other teams in the group would love to see how Angola would handle that. Typically with smaller guards, with Luketi right now running the point, that may be an area of weakness for them.
3-point play converted. 25-point lead currently to Angola. Over the teardrop. Gaku coming up with a rebound. If you're Angola coach, you know this. You want to win as big a margin as possible. Violation committed, but no crowd can deny that. But coach, I think that's the right call in my mind.
Yeah, I agree. I think shuffled the pivot foot there. Too much time in America.
Sofian Ahmed currently back on the floor. Badrush getting picked up by Fernandez on the rush. Nice little post-up. Oh, nice dish up. One of the few wide open looks they've had tonight.
Yeah, a little defensive breakdown there for Angola.
Well, then Kenny again at the point guard roll. Back to the pick. Top 3. He's just laying it out. And Angola's going to get it back.
I'm surprised we haven't seen Libya go back to the zone. Obviously, it didn't really work out for them the first go. Only a couple possessions. I think, given a larger sample size, at this stage, really nothing working in their favor.
That switch on the defense, clearly a mismatch for Libya, which Andres Ayew, who didn't play too much in the third quarter, no choice but to pick up that foul. Fernandez, not a big play to handle. 7 now on the shot clock. Luketi, got to think about something. You know it's coming. There's a step back. There's a 3. They got to shoot it. That's going to be a 24-second violation.
Well, that's one of the rare times that rather than look inside versus the switch, the guard ended up taking the shot, which I'm sure Coach Carlos is probably not happy about.
Maybe a must play for pride. They are in. Their team will have to go up against South Sudan later on as well as Guinea. It's going to remain Libya ball with 7 here on the shot clock. So I think can offer this team a lot more. He has that size, he has that power. Just wonder, can they get him a few more good looks inside the paints? He's going for a fadeaway. Throwing the foul, so he'll go to the free throw line.
You got to feel for Baruch. He really has tried to do it all for his team here. Obviously the early injury, and once again getting knocked to the floor, trying to create something for his team.
Well, he has 14 points tonight. He's 5 out of 14 from the field. He's only missed 1 free throw so far. This is a break for Tripoli this season. Good season so far. In the bow, averaging just under 10 points per game. It's a 21-point lead to Angola. Definitely will be a great stop for them here in the AfroBasket. Nice ball fake. Kenny sends a big man flying. But also, coach, same time, a lot of areas Angola is going to have to reflect and work on as this tournament progresses.
Yeah, I mean, great move there, body control from Kenny to stop on the dime, but you know they're gonna film to work with.
Kenny's at one time. Great effort backdoor defense by Zoo, but not enough in the end. Kenny now 6 points this evening, and a carrying violation against Baruch. I like this. Pump fake, sends it flying. And he sent him on Lucchini Airlines. But Lucchini down the other end. This is what he doesn't get enough credit for, defense coach.
Well, you know, he's always had that lefty smooth game. You see it with the stop and finish, and again with the steal and break out there. But great to see him find a little success.
Celtic comes up with it. Now pulls up with 15. You gotta love the energy tonight here in Luanda.
Well, this crowd knows that, you know, these are the young guys, so they know this is the future for this national team, and I'm excited to see them have a little bit of success.
Wow. It's gonna be interesting to see on the replay. Let's have a look here. Well, here's the mid-range. Celtic. Nice take, but there's the margin for error. Now, it was João Fernandes who set the ball screen. I don't think we are going to see the replay, but he got called for a legal screen. Now, I'm going to trust that this is the right call, but you know especially, setting screens at this level, it's a skill of its own.
Well, you know, oftentimes when the defender gets his head knocked off, we assume it's an illegal screen. So, from my angle, it looked like a good, tough screen. It looked like it had position.
Well, a jump ball, I believe, is going to be called out. Possession arrow does go in favor of Libya. Oh, no, it hasn't actually. I'm trying to remember, coach. Who had first possession in the fourth quarter? I thought it was Angola.
Glad that they have it sorted now.
It was a very long delay that took a lot out of both of us, I think, and everybody in this arena as well. But so I was correct. Angola had the first possession of the fourth quarter. And now we have the wave tonight here in Luanda. The fans, they have simply, it's not an empty seat in the arena, coach. What an atmosphere.
Well, these fans have been treated to a great show here from the home team.
Nice finish by Francisco in transition. Now extending it to a 29-point lead to the hosts. 12th FIBA AfroBasket championship they're chasing. And indeed, it's been 12 years. A blocking foul has been called. Now Pep Claros is getting called for a coach technical. Let's have a look here.
I think think he might have an argument. Hard to tell from that angle if he's leaning, but it certainly looked like he had legal position. I think Coach Carlos has to remember, though, up 29 points right now, you're going to see these refs again at some point in the tournament. So you don't want to get on their bad side in a 29-point game. I know he's coaching with passion, and that's how his team plays, but probably not the right time to pick up a technical.
Sofian Ahmed, missing the free throw. But you make a very good point there, because possibly Coach Carlos does have an argument, but you're up by 29, and you mentioned it very well. This is only the beginning of the tournament. Well, Francisco was feeling that possibly was a 5-second violation, but very smart play by Sofian Ahmed just to throw it off him.
Well, everything has been difficult here for Libya tonight.
Aggressive rush now, forcing the turnover. So Angola now getting it back.
Yeah, really great hard hedge there for Daku, jumping out, forcing the turnover. You see no let up from this Angola team, and this is where you have to be careful if you're Libya. Already obviously the game is out of reach, but you don't want this to turn into a 30-plus point loss.
Well, everybody in the building now having their phones out. This truly is a remarkable scene in international basketball. Gakko buries a three-pointer. 5 attempts, and he's got 1 to go. And a 32-point lead to Angola.
Big three there, giving the crowd what they wanted. And you can see there's still a ton of energy here in the building right now.
Well, we've seen some magnificent atmospheres, but Coach, in international basketball, I'll say one thing. Welcome to the 2025 FIBA AfroBasket. What an atmosphere we have tonight.
Well, what an environment. And these fans patiently awaiting the delay. No effect in their energy here. Up almost, well, now 32 points, and still cheering as if it was 0-0.
Here's the post-up again by the big man, double team head. And again, I like that, Coach. Post-century kick out, and they get a good look from, the mid-range at least.
Well, one of the few, so maybe that's something to explore. But again, there's still things to be gained in this 5.5 minutes. So for Libya, finding something that you can build from heading into the next games, I think it's going to be really important, especially offensively.
Ketty just wants to find that rhythm from the three-point line. There's another three-pointer. I feel that's something he can adopt in this tournament. They're going to be tough to handle. These final 5 minutes have set it already for Libya. It's got to be about pride. Ali Badi, last shot, now makes another one. Little battles they've got to build up, little battles they've got to win to try and build some positive notes.
No, that's it. And, Mata, I think, is giving them good minutes. So had the injury that cut into some of his playing time, but what he's done here tonight, encouraging as they move forward.
Just getting the home crowd back into this. The foul is going to be committed. That's going to be the 15th foul. So now Libya, these final 4 minutes and 24 seconds, they'll go to the free throw line.
And Miguel finally finding a rhythm here. But I think also important minutes for Armina. He hasn't played this whole game, and he's going to have an opportunity. 4.5 minutes to go to earn the trust of Coach Vincent. They need another ball handler out there for this team. And that's what you use for these minutes. So definitely not something where you're just playing out the clock. Coach Vincent's got to find a few more guys to put around Agouche, see if they can build something offensively as they head into their next game.
Well, Ali Arima currently at the free throw line stands at 187 centimeters. 22 years of age. Young prospect on this team. Goes out of bounds. It's going to go to Libya. So 4:24 left here in the fourth quarter. I don't imagine we're going to see Bruno Fernando again for the rest of the game.
No, you know, I'm actually really surprised that Dungao is in the game. I think Coach Carlos not happy with McKinney, you know, playing up to the crowd a little bit too much. But you know, certainly you don't want your starters picking up any injuries at the tail end of this game.
Well, De Souza with a good defense. Bit of a circus shot, but what a follow-up by Silvio. Silvio tries to go up with it, no foul. It goes out of bounds. So Libya will get it back. The defense is so there from Dawa and Wilson, just standing their ground, hands up, not trying to contest anything, and make that tough for Silvio De Souza.
Yeah, Silvio's got to see it kick out in those moments. I think he's tried to force through a crowd a little bit too much in this game.
Bovada now, being heavily defended. Fine Rizzo, doesn't take many three-pointers. Bit of a circus shot, that's not going to go, but a rebound by Sofian Ahmed. They found Paul. Celtic going in. That's going to be a goaltending violation. Coach, I don't think that was going in.
Yeah, it looked like it was going to roll out, so not a smart decision there.
That's the replay. I think Rizzo could have left that one. It's unfortunate, but regardless whether it went in or not, I don't think it was going to have too much of an impact. Because now Gilson Bango re-enters play.
Well, interesting to see Bango coming back on the floor this late. I think with Coach Carlos probably just trying to even out the minutes a little bit.
It's been the block party tonight for Angola, Coach. Anything that goes in the paint just simply gets denied. It's the sixth block of the game for Angola.
Well, I really like Valente, and nice out of bounds play there from Libya. I think Valente's given them some really good minutes. You know, defensively, knocked down the big three, had the baseline drive. I think it's been a really great debut for him.
Coach, it looks like Bruno Fernando is going to come back into the game.
I'm really surprised at that. I mean, I know you want Texas, but he's been sitting a long time. Sometimes when you get to 30 points, games get a little sloppy. You just want to see him get any sort of injury at this moment.
So it's going to be a provisional substitution. Dacko, if he makes a second one, is going to leave. So for the final 3 minutes, Angola is going to finish with their starting five, leading currently now by 31.
I mean, I understand, you know, you want to find a rhythm with the group, and those minutes are important, but it just seems a little late. I think, you know, if you wanted to come back with your starters maybe a little bit earlier in this quarter, and then at the very end could sub them back out. So, you know, seeing Bango and now Fernando taking the court this late in the blowout win, really surprising.
Well, remember, Angola and Libya will be leaving Luanda. They'll be heading to Namibia to play the final of their group stage. Angola's next game will be on Thursday. They'll take on Guinea. Because the big showdown in the group stage is going to be the rematch of what we saw in Manila back in 2023 as they'll take on South Sudan. And block number 7 of Valente becoming the block master. Bango in the paint. Twist and turn, nice footwork. Comes up with it. Still can't finish. Now Zio wants to go in. He'll finish. Smart play by Fernando though, because not only avoiding a foul, but potentially, I don't want to say it, Coach, maybe an injury at anything.
Well, you know, again, he was sitting down for a really long time. Fernando
taking a few threes tonight. Final seconds during the shot clock. Sylvia in the paint. Goes in. Again, no foul call. This time he's going to get called for the foul. I think Joseph Bango asking the question here at the moment.
You know, with De Sosa, he needs to go up with it immediately. I mean, great pass from Dundao. You know, rather than go right up with it. It was a little slow, came with a couple of pump fakes. Certainly there was contact there, but I think the officials have been pretty consistent in not calling that. He's got to be able to adjust to how this game has been officiated.
Of course, for Libya, when they head to the meet, as mentioned, their next game is going to be against the team who played in the Olympics last summer. Now, granted, some players not here, of course, but still, you think of like Wendy and Gabriel, the talent they have. The task only gets tougher.
Yeah, there's no question. You know, great win for Guinea today. Another former player of mine, Mamadi Diakite, with a big game for them. So Guinea, another one of these sleeper teams that you got to be ready to play against.
Fernando step back. Buries this one. And that might be good night. The final touch from big man Bruno. Another put on the rebound. Libya just coming up with it. The tip-in is good as now we reach under 90 seconds here in the final quarter. Goldal getting a hand down. Bump is going in. There's defensive presence by Rizek. Libya just keep on going. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Good night. Boanote. Forza Angola. That's Joseph Bango time.
Well, this crowd appreciating the highlight dunk. There could be a few more in the way that Libya players are looking right now.
There goes Bruno. It's going to be the fourth and final team foul against Libya with 47.7 seconds left. Well, there you have it. Good night to the city of Luanda. Joseph Bango with the hops. Down with the dime. And it's going to be a big W for the 11th-time FIBA AfroBasket champions. They're looking for a 12th. Coach, it's been 12 years. Could that be destiny?
Well, I mean, you've seen this crowd now, so you understand the home court advantage that it brings for them. I think with this roster, you know, if Dundao, Selton, Miguel, you know, even Lucchini, if these guys can make perimeter shots enough to keep the defense honest, I don't see any team being able to come in this building and beat them.
Now, our referees, I believe, are consulting. Possibly could this be upgraded to an unsportsmanlike foul? What do you think, Coach?
Well, you know, you don't want to see the end of this game get chippy. That was my concern. Also, the concern for having your starters on the floor right now. You know, Libya's looked like they've kind of raised the white flag a little bit. So in these transition opportunities, you know, that's where I get nervous somebody could get hurt. So the officials, it looks like they're going to take a look at this, and I wouldn't be surprised if they upgrade it just to keep the game under control in this final minute.
And you might be right there, Coach. And I don't think Libya, on any circumstances tonight, have played with any, ill intent. I think they played hard, of course, but I just think given the circumstances when you're trailing and you're chasing the game, sometimes a decision can be poorly timed. In that case, could have easily been done there, but you're absolutely right. I think if this is to be upgraded, even though 47.7 seconds left, this may just send a message, hey, no more of this now.
Yeah, typically I would not be a fan of official delays at the end of a game, but I do think this is actually the right move. Make sure nothing crazy happens in the last minute. You know, again, with this long delay we've had, everybody's been here for a long time, so fatigue sets in, players make bad decisions. You just want to see this game end on the right note.
Well, our referees tonight, Arno Masea, Ruben Woolcock, and also Hassani Kamate have done an excellent job here this evening. Here's a look at the replay. Well, we know what the home crowd thinks. The question is, will this be upgraded? It's a very tough one, that's to say the least.
Well, you know, it's when he's behind him that I think is what they've got to evaluate. So the foul itself, not that egregious, but you know, certainly when you're coming from behind in transition, that's potentially where a player can get hurt. I think these officials probably will upgrade this just to keep the game under control here.
Well, decision has been made. Yep. So, yeah, an unsportsmanlike foul, I believe, has been given. Am I correct? I thought I did see the motion. So it's going to be 2 free throws coming for Bruno Fernando. And of course, Angola will retain possession. It's quite interesting to see him go from the NBA to the Spanish ACB this year, but it's one thing about him is, and he's very honest about it when you speak to him, it took him a bit of time to adapt to the league, but maybe a player of his caliber, as I mentioned, we'll see this as this tournament goes on. I asked this question, will that time, with arguably the best international domestic league in the world, make him ready for the big time, the big games, I'm saying, to get them to that 12th championship?
Well, I think no question. Obviously, the experience internationally sets you up for success with the national teams versus the NBA style of game.
Well, Fernando on the ground, scrambling, but that's going to be a 24-second violation. Now, we do have 32.9 seconds left, so for sure Libya are going to try to get something on this offense.
Well, and even Angola, too, there'll be time at the end of this shot. And, you know, we talked about it earlier. The point differential matters. So, you know, it's something for the American viewers, I think it's hard for them to grasp. But absolutely, Angola should run back and also try to get a last-second shot.
Well, there's a turnover. Now there's 2.3 seconds difference between game and shot clock, leading by 32. Like you said, Coach, every play matters. We saw that with the Egyptians. Maybe a 34, 35, or possibly a 36 if they get an and-one three-pointer. Who knows? Banger down the middle. Libya comes over there. Now it's a 3-on-1. And there you go. Number 8, Fernando waves the finger like the late, great Dikembe. Not in my house.
Well, the length and athleticism on display. It's been a struggle for Libya all night. And the few times they were able to get to the rim, they were met with Bruno Fernando or some other defender rotating over.
It's been 12 long years. And indeed, Angola chasing their 12th FIBA AfroBasket championship. And they begin this campaign in the 31st edition with a win against Libya. They win 85-53. Well, we can choose anybody to be the player of the game. Kokila led the way, but I think the fans, Coach, I've experienced